Had it been the law, I was told I may not have been here.
You know, I've watched about 10,000 debates in my life. That may be up there with maybe the most incredible, not that he's anti-Roe or that he's anti-choice, but that had Roe been the law, I might not be standing on this stage. In any case,
I wonder if his parents were happy he revealed that.
Yeah, well, they were both at a Healy rally. So it's 2.5 weeks until voters will choose between the two. We've been devoting a lot of time to national politics. What are your top issues, whether you saw the debate last night or not, when it comes to the state of Massachusetts and the race for governor? The number to text or call is 877-301-8970. I think most people know a progressive attorney general, tell me if this is being unfair, Marjorie, is running as a centrist Democrat.
Yes, she is.
And Jeff Deal is attempting to shy a little bit away from, he was Trump's campaign manager in Massachusetts in 2016. He's no longer saying that the election was rigged. He said there's some issues, but essentially he is willing to dabble in Trumpism on an issue or two here or there. We'll talk about COVID in a couple of minutes. And that's essentially is before you. I'm sure you've seen the polls that came out this week. One poll had Maura Healey up 23 points. One poll had her up 30. The number is 877-301-8970. Who you voting for and what moves you in the direction of a Healey or a Deal? What else did you take away from last night's debate?
Well, I saw that Jeff Deal had a line that will be remembered too when he was asked if he ever took public transportation.
That was pretty good.
He said, well, he's taken the exit people mover at Logan Airport.
I thought that was pretty funny,
yeah,
actually. I don't know if he meant it as funny.
I don't know if he meant it as funny either, but, I think there were no big blockbuster moments. I mean, it was noted in James Pindell's piece in the Globe about this, that Healey was, as you just said, more toward the center. Maybe some progressives might be upset about that. That she was definitely following in Baker's footsteps, but why would you not want to? He's been the most popular governor on and off in the United States of America since he's been in office, so why not go there? We do have some answers, thanks again to James Pindell in the Globe about it. I often wonder, why is Jeff Deal doing this? I mean, he knows he's not going to win. What's the point of this? But, he said that it will... Maybe he could host a local radio talk show, Jim, or run a conservative nonprofit, and that will set him up well for his future, I guess.
Well, maybe he also wants to be governor. What is the point? Because he's going to lose if the polls are correct, so he must have an ulterior motive. Maybe he thought he could market his position, and maybe he can. He's got 18 days left. We will see.
Yeah, I don't know. President Trump, or the former President Trump, is very unpopular in the state of Massachusetts, so it's hard to believe he thought he could win here.
Yeah, but we've had Republican governors, a different kind of Republican, I admit, 24 of the last 32 years. People like that. They like a Democratic legislature, overwhelmingly Democratic, which it will be again. 3 Republicans in the Senate, only 28 in the House. He's just a different kind of Republican. Speaking of Maura Healey running as a different kind of Democrat, here she is in this debate last night. She's asked by Channel 5's Janet Wu what she would do to help alleviate people's concerns about the economy, and her answer is one that you won't traditionally hear from a progressive Democrat. Here it is.
Cutting taxes. Cutting taxes. I hope this month we see, Janet, those tax rebate checks go out to taxpayers. We also need to pass the tax reforms that Governor Baker proposed. These were tax cuts for seniors, renters, low-income, middle-income families. They included things like changes to the estate tax and, importantly, earned income credit for families. In addition, I have proposed to give each family a tax credit of $600 per child.
Even if you think the Baker tax cuts, which we'll discuss again with Governor Baker on Thursday when he's here, and by the way, one of the reasons they haven't passed, because the legislature supposedly likes them too, is, as you may be aware, the legislature's on a 5-month vacation, so they can't do anything. I don't think I've heard, and tell me if you disagree with this, I can't remember a progressive Democrat not only leading with tax cutting, and that was her first answer, not this one, but her first answer the whole night was about cutting people's taxes, but not only cutting taxes, but cutting taxes as she hopes, her Republican predecessor, Governor Baker, would do. Obviously, strategically really smart. As you say, Baker's the most popular politician in Massachusetts. It's just unusual to hear a Democrat talking about cutting taxes as the centerpiece, or one of the centerpieces of her campaign.
But I took it as a different way.
What do you mean?
If the millionaires' tax cut passes or tax increase
Which she supports.
passes, which she supports, and you're saying, okay, we're going to tax people on the amount of money they're making over $1 million a year, which I think a lot of people who are not millionaires think is okay because they're not millionaires.
A lot of millionaires think it's okay too, with whom I've spoken.
And then
actually.
you're going to cut taxes that have more of an impact on low and middle income.
When did she say that
people.
last night? I missed that.
She didn't say that. She just said over and over again, Governor Baker's tax cuts. But I think that's the message I took away from it, that tax the rich and don't tax the middle class.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair at all, by the way.
You don't?
She had an opportunity to say it. Her defense of supporting question 1 was the people put it on the ballot. It's not something I proposed. She supports it, but I thought the perfect answer was the one you said. Tax the wealthiest, give tax breaks to low and middle income people, but she chose not to do that. And why is that? Because a moderate position is that raising taxes on anybody is not a terribly good idea, and I don't think she wanted to cross that line last night.
And you know what else I think? That we have come far enough in Massachusetts in terms of gay rights. The fact that she'd be the first openly gay governor elected, it wasn't even a question. So that's sort of a credit to Massachusetts. It is not.
I agree with that.
I don't think it's an issue. Do you? I don't think it's an
No,
issue
I don't think it is at
all.
Well, I don't know. With some of these nuts in the Republican Party, it may be an issue, but I don't think it's an issue with 95%, if not more, of the voters. 877-301-8970. Where are you on the governor's race? And secondly, if the polls are to be believed, it's one of the themes we did on television last night. If the polls are to be believed, this will be a total wipeout for the Republican Party in Massachusetts. They will not hold one constitutional office. The only race that's in play is Anthony Amori's within 15 points of Diana DiZoglio for auditor. And it is in all likelihood we will end up with less than 15% of the legislature Republican, 85% or more Democratic. And I have to say, I don't know if that troubles you. Moving towards a one-party state, even if you're a big-time Democrat listening to the show, I think that's troubling and not good news for the state.
Our number is 877-301-8970. You can call us at that number or text us at that number, 877-301-8970. Are you voting for Maura Healey? If so, why? Are you voting for Jeff Deal? If so, why? I mean, the thing you said about the Republican Party on your show last night I thought was very interesting in terms of the Anthony DeMori story, about the note about trying to get. Didn't you talk about the Republican Party not wanting Anthony DeMori in advance?
This is actually the Republican Party, which is run by a lunatic. I mean that respectfully. Of course, Jim Lyons, who's totally trumped up, allows homophobia and racism amongst his members. What the Republican Party did post the photographs of each of the Republican constitutional candidates. For example, like the woman who is running for Secretary of State, who's a wonderful candidate, who in her speech at the Republican convention talked about how 4- and 5-year-olds are having oral sex in school. That's a woman I want as my Secretary of State, I should say. In addition, her photograph is up there. Every photograph is up there except one person. Why is Amori's photograph up there? Not up there?
Because he's a moderate Republican?
No, because he wanted his photograph on the Republican website to include Governor Baker. But because Governor Baker is anathema to the Republican Party in Massachusetts, they refused to post his photograph. So the only constitutional candidate who has a decent chance of winning, Anthony Amori, still behind, has decent chances, not on the Republican website, because he has the audacity to pose with the most popular governor in America, Charlie Baker. 877-301-8970. Let's take some calls. Terry and Hingham, you are first on Boston Public Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, thank you. I had never heard Deal speak. I did watch the debate. I was interested to know more about him, and I felt he was a nice person, but rather complacent, rather not really dynamic. And I thought Maura Healey came off as very dynamic. She seemed to have a good answer for every question that she had thought out. So I just thought that she seemed more in command, that she could command the position a lot better.
Well, the one place we totally agree, her energy level was about 4,000 what Jeff's was last night. I agree with that.
Yes.
Terry, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
You know what I thought was one of the incredible things? Oh,
I can't hear you. Is this
there
working?
we go.
There we go.
Now we go. One of the incredible things I thought about Jeff Deal's candidacy is that his running mate is a nurse.
Yes, she is.
And should want to be vaccinated.
Nope.
Now it's not that big of a deal because so many people are vaccinated, but early on in the pandemic, I mean, people were so afraid of catching COVID, to expect that a non-vaccinated nurse would be treating you in an intimate manner, getting close to you and breathing on you and stuff like that. And I thought that was just a ridiculous position that he took. But that's one of his Trumpy things, I guess.
Well, speaking of ridiculous, I would argue ridiculous morphs into dangerous. He was asked a question about masks and whether you reinstate masks in school and government buildings if there was a COVID surge. And by the way, for those who think that's preposterous, we're going to discuss with Michael Curry at noon. The positivity rate in New York City now has hit 20%, which is really scary. Here is Jeff Deal's response to the question about mandating masks in schools. And listen to what he says near the end of this.
No, I always felt, and again, I think we're starting to see the science prove out, and I should back up. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not anti-mask. I just want people to be able to make their own personal choices on that. And I think we've seen from the science now that no matter how many times you were vaccinated or boosted, that did not prevent catching COVID. We heard from Fauci that evidently the masking really wasn't necessarily a great solution.
Not only was that misleading, that's dangerous. With all due respect to Jeff Deal, let me repeat to you. I think we've seen from science now that no matter how many times that you were vaccinated or boosted, that did not prevent you from catching COVID. Maybe true, Jeff. What it prevented you from was dying. That's the evidence. Yes, I've been boosted and vaccinated probably more than anybody on the planet. I got COVID twice in 3 weeks. I don't think I died. I wasn't hospitalized. That's irresponsible.
You were working. You worked the whole time.
But from home, I did.
It was very upsetting that you did that because I was expecting I was going to get some time off if I got COVID.
I know.
But now that you've worked every day, you had COVID, it's ruined it for everybody else. But the point is, I don't think anybody ever said it was going to prevent you from getting COVID. It was going to get you, as you said, prevent you from getting very, very sick.
He knows that, though. Jeff is he is not as dumb. He's not only not as dumb, he is not dumb. He's not Marjorie Taylor Greene or Paul Gosar, who are dumb as stumps. We've known Deal for a long time. He's a smart, I think, very decent guy who just dabbled in this Trump thing, which I don't quite understand.
Here's a tragedy for the Republican Party in Massachusetts, because I do agree with you. It's terrible that we're such a one-party state. And I mean, I don't think the legislature will be on this 5-month vacation not doing anything.
I couldn't agree more.
And that impacts people getting programs and money that they should get. But the problem is that they have, for some reason, stayed with this radical right bunch that is going to never get anywhere in Massachusetts. Now, Jeff Deal, maybe as a moderate Republican, could get somewhere.
Well, as evidenced by the fact there's a moderate Republican who's the most popular governor in America sitting right here, right now. 877-301-8970. Red text and says, vote for a Republican. They're almost as bad as the Democrats. I'm voting for a pelican or maybe an acrobat. 877-301-8970. Where do you want to go, Marjorie?
Let's go to, is it Dalit in Somerville? Thank you for calling.
Welcome to the show.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's Dalit.
Hi,
Dalit. Sorry.
What's up?
No, that's okay. I just want to remind people, I think percentages of people who vote in this country are appalling, and I want to remind people that Scott Brown won because people did not care enough to go out to vote. They thought it was a done deal.
Yeah, you're right. The polls very, very close to the election. That was a special election. I believe it was in January.
I can't remember.
And the polls right before Christmas had Brown behind, by a lot. I think it was maybe 10 points or maybe even more points. I'm not sure, Dal, but that's a great point. He was supposed to be the vote that was going to kill Obamacare.
41st vote.
It didn't turn out that way. But I think the other thing is, Dal, that we've had this... We've had this long record in Massachusetts of attorney generals never winning the governorship. I mean, Scott Harshbarger didn't win, Martha Copley didn't win, Tom Riley didn't win. They tend to be too much just the facts ma'am kind of candidates. And Healey's different than that.
Oh, I think she's very different.
Yeah, she's very different than that. She's a very talented politician, and I think the previous attorney generals may have been great attorney generals, but they weren't great politicians. And it's kind of the attorney general's curse in Massachusetts. Yeah. But I think looks like she's going to break it.
Delete, thanks for the call. Well,
we've
told this story before. I'm sorry, go ahead.
In terms of voting, I mean, what I've been reading and seeing is that there's massive early voter
Georgia,
turnout.
in particular.
In places where they're voting early. So there is a lot of enthusiasm about this race. I think it may be mostly on the GOP side, but there is definitely a lot of enthusiasm.
Well, actually, Latasha Brown, who, as you know, is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter, was on TV with me the other night. She is as responsible, I would argue, as Stacey Abrams for the 2 Democratic senators from Georgia. She did wonderful work. She said something like 40% of the early votes were from predominantly black communities, which is a disproportionate share. So she was actually in Georgia. She was very optimistic about
it's
the
interesting.
numbers.
In Georgia, Raphael Warnock, who's the senator down there, has tried to avoid kind of going straight at Herschel Walker on the abortion thing and the children out of wedlock. I guess he's decided to run a new ad because the gloves
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it is a big deal. It is a big deal to say you're absolutely 100% against abortion, no exceptions, and then you find out in your personal life that you have made exceptions, at least on one front, and maybe more.
Can I ask you a question? What do you think? You say, you and Pindle were saying, James Pindle in the Globe were saying, what's the agenda of Deal? I assume his agenda at the beginning was to be elected governor. He may not think it's possible now. We'll see what happens, obviously, leading up to November 8th. But, it is amazing when we look back at this race after it's over. The progressive Democrat was smart enough to understand that pursuing, whether you like it or not, a Charlie Baker path was the path to election because he's obviously wildly popular. But Baker's own party rejects Baker and rejects people who, for example, the guy who ran against Deal, who was not Charlie Baker, he'd never run in politics, but was closer to being a moderate than Jeff Deal, was crushed in the primary. When you have a role model for what your party should be doing to win in a blue state, when you're a red party, why don't you follow it? Why don't you follow it?
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that people often accuse each other of being in bubbles. We're in a bubble here in Boston, and maybe he's in a bubble of this very extreme right-wing GOP. I don't know. And
can we do me a favor? Only because it brings me joy, because I don't think I've ever heard anything like this in a debate, at least in a state like ours. Can you play the soundbite again that we played in the lead when he was asked? And by the way, he jumped in. They were done discussing abortion, and Jeff Deal said, one more thing. And so obviously he was prepared for this. This is not something was spontaneous, and after which he went, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. He was planning to say this. Here's what he had to say about why he has a personal experience that's relevant to his position on Roe and Dobbs. Here he is.
My view on abortion, I just have to clarify, it comes from personal experience. My parents made a decision to have me when Roe v. Wade was not the law. Had it been the law, I was told I may not have been here.
Now, the question that he never answered, who told him? Did his mother say, oh, Jeffy, there's something we want to tell you now that it's your 9th birthday?
Yeah.
Had Roe v. Wade been the law, no Jeff Deal. I want to be honest with you, Jeffy. Who told him this?
Well, I don't know, but that is a question. I'm sure there are thousands of people who either they had bad financial circumstances, or they didn't like the person they got pregnant by, or whatever it was, who thought about having an abortion and changed their mind. I think generally speaking, that's not something you would want to tell to the child.
Well, except let me tell you something. I think Deal maybe inspire some people. I can see them after this last night. Let's assume you have 3 children, or roughly Jeff's age.
Yep.
You say, children, can you come here tonight? I want to talk to you. Jane and John, I would have had. Dave, Roe v. Wade, I don't think so. I just can't.
I don't know. Maybe it happens a lot. I was sort of surprised by that, I must admit.
877-301-8970. Linda, you're in Scituate. You're on Boston Public Radio from the Boston Public Library. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. As an independent, I tend to agree that it's not a great idea to have such a one-sided party rule in a state. Mm-hmm. But at this moment in time, there are some big priorities out there that need to be dealt with that have to come first.
Like what?
As far as the
like what?
Women's right to bodily autonomy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. First off, and always. The economy, that's a global issue. That's temporary, but this is something that will have longer-reaching, lasting repercussions attached to it. And if the Republicans want to have more people in the legislature and in office, put up someone worth voting for. That's on them.
I think they've made some poor choices in terms of nominees, too. Linda, thank you for your call.
Well, you had this guy on your show last night that kept talking about extremists on both sides.
Paul DeBoli from LaSalle
and I
College.
Thought, you just mentioned the candidate that was talking about little kids having oral sex, which is crazy.
4 and 5-year-olds in school.
In school. Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody on the other side that is going into that extreme sort of area. You know what I mean?
I think I do know what you mean.
When you look at the policies that Democrats...
What's the other side of that issue, by the way? If one side thinks 4 and 5-year-olds are having oral sex in school, what is the other side? I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I don't think it's that swell. Let's have more of it. I don't think that's what the Democratic
she said
side
that at the Republican
Yeah.
convention, and she was nominated after that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, is that unbelievable?
I mean, there's a great story somewhere I read this morning. I think it was in the Washington Post about rural voters' resentment toward elites, so-called, like I guess those of us who live in Boston or something. And maybe that's a big part of it too. I mean, you do get out of Boston, and it's a different world in many parts of the state.
Herbie Hobson was with us yesterday. The premiere of his show last night, The Middle, was essentially to target exactly that person who feels looked down upon by people like you and me.
Eric in Worcester, what do you think, Eric?
Eric.
Hi. I have to agree. The idea of having a one-party ballot concerns me, but at the same time, I want to see more progressive candidates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Republicans are putting up anyone worth voting for, especially in Massachusetts. And I'm really happy to see that we do have some progressive candidates coming through and beating the sort of more moderate and traditional Democrats that we might have in Massachusetts. A good example being Robin Kennedy in Worcester, beating Worcester Mayor Joe Petty.
Oh, tell us about that. I don't even know about that,
Nor
Eric.
do I.
Tell us about Robin.
So this is for the seat that Harriet Chandler is
State
resigning
senator.
from.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so Mayor Joe Petty's been here in Worcester for a while now. He was kind of viewed as the unofficial incumbent coming into this race. But you had a lot of turnout of people who wanted more progressive stance on a number of issues. And frankly, Robin Kennedy is that candidate. She's really looking at trying to provide support for young families in terms of childcare and other support. And I think that she definitely sort of found a solid base here in Worcester. And I'm really excited to vote for her, and I'm really hoping to see her take that seat.
Eric, before you go, you sound like a relatively likable person. Did your parents ever come to you and say, had Roe v. Wade been the law? I'm sorry, Eric.
Sorry, Eric.
No. It's all right. Honestly, I have to say, I thought that was just totally bonkers, and it really, it's the candidates that it seems like the GOP is putting up. There's no rhyme or reason or even common sense to these candidates, and it's really terrifying to see that in a number of races they may win.
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. Eric, by the way, your mother's on the other line. We'll take her after the break. Find out what her plans
I was also going
are.
to say real quick,
thanks.
Eric, what's very interesting in a lot of these polls, you look about where the Democrats have their strongest support, it is among young people, like 18 to 29, because I think that a lot of young Democrats, or young people in general, have figured out that capitalism is not exactly working for them the way they want.
Well, you know what they care a lot
They
about?
want more regulated capitalism so you don't get the shaft.
You know what they also care a lot about?
What?
More than older people do? Climate change.
Yeah, climate
How many times
change.
Maura Healey mentioned climate change last night?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I was really disappointed. We're going to have her in here next week.
Thursday,
I think next Thursday.
yeah.
There was a big back and forth about how she got rid of these pipelines. She disapproved these
Stop them,
pipelines that were coming in. And she never once mentioned that part of that is concern about climate change, that we can't keep building. He kept talking about liquefied natural gas. I mean, she
was talking about cost savings she brought to ratepayers as a result of stopping those two
But I guess
pipelines.
if you are concerned about the climate, you don't want any more fossil fuel building going on. So I was really surprised. And again, I wondered if that was climate change is a bad word to people that are in the Republican Party. I don't know.
Well, in all fairness, I'm not defending not saying it, because I think that's irrelevant. I hope it's a relevant consideration for her to do what she did. I was sort of surprised there were no questions, actually, about climate change.
That's a very good
last
point.
night. Again, it's up. A candidate can take a question anywhere he or she chooses, so I'm not letting them off the hook. But in all fairness, and they did talk. She talked a lot about clean energy. While she didn't use the terms climate change as such, she talked about how to get from here to there. So I think that's fair.
And he kept saying he's not opposed to clean energy, but we have to wait till we're ready for it. Well, by the time we're ready for it, it's already too late now for most of the stuff that's going to happen. But by the time we're ready for it, he was opposed to getting rid of no more gas guzzling or gas fired cars by 2035.
2030, 35.
Yeah, 35. He didn't even like that. And I think that if we don't, 2035 is another...
I don't want to criticize you for being unfair, but if I may, before we break.
Okay.
Had he not been here, climate change, had his climate change wouldn't have been an issue. Can we agree on that?
The other thing is, if his parents did say that to him, do you think they wanted the whole world to know they said that to him? Did he ask Mom and Dad's
They haven't taken his calls in weeks.
I think the Stewart reporter will be down there trying to interview the parents of Jeff Deal and ask if they wanted everybody to know.
An emailer says, apparently Jeff's parents were the first to play Deal or No Deal. Thank you very much. Wish I could claim credit for that, but sadly,
very good.
I cannot.
That's
By the
a
way,
good one.
can I just say one thing before you start yelling at us on text? People are saying, why are you having Healy on before the election, not having Deal? We did have Jeff Deal on several weeks ago as a standalone by himself. We've known him forever. He's been on the show a lot. We actually invited Jeff Deal and his opponent to debate on our show during the primary, and Jeff refused. His opponent agreed, and he didn't. So
we get another good text on
what's
this.
That?
If Roe wasn't the law, how did Deal's parents choose? And that is a very good point. He was born in 1969. Roe was passed in 1973. Yeah, so he was pre-Roe. Anyway, we're gauging your thoughts on the governor's race. Did you vote for more? Will you vote for Maura Healey? Will you vote for Jeff Deal? And why? We're going to keep talking about that for the next few minutes. You're listening to 89.7 GBH, Boston Public Radio, broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Next time on The World.
Okay, are we still waiting for more people? Or is everybody here?
This online meeting is a wedding ceremony conducted by an officiant in Utah. The couple and the guest could be anywhere on Earth.
We make it easy for them to travel to Utah via Zoom.
Same-sex couples in China have used the service to overcome local prohibitions. Married virtually from Utah on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering MedX Medicare supplement plans that include no referrals, worldwide travel coverage, and the ability to see any doctor that accepts Medicare. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And Atlantic Design Center by Eldridge Lumber and Hardware, committed to helping you achieve your vision for a new kitchen or bathroom and guiding you from design to completion with showrooms in York and Portland, Maine. AtlanticDesignCTR.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We're live at the Boston Public Library. Please join us. We have some wonderful segments ahead, including some wonderful music in the 1 o'clock hour. We're streaming. Is streaming working, Jamie? Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. By the way, we're talking about the governor's race. Who do you prefer, Deal or Healey, and why? Early voting starts tomorrow, by the way, in Massachusetts. If you go to sec.state.ma.us, Secretary of State's office, you learn all the rules about early voting. Voting by mail, all that sort of thing. Maura Healey will join us at 11:06 next Thursday, a week from yesterday. And on that same show, 12:30 to 1:30 for Ask the Governor, Charlie Baker will join us for his final not his final appearance, but his final pre-election day appearance, 12:30 to 1:30 to take your calls.
Neil from Nashua says I think he says he's 30 and he's voting red to save his job as a licensed gas equipment installer. I think you might want to think about looking into something else, though, because it's going to go. It's going to go. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be 5 years or 10 years.
Well, I mean, the one thing I think that Deal raises this legitimate concern, and I'm where you are. Do we have the infrastructure to make the transition in the time frame that Democratic leaders are proposing? And by the way, you have had back and forth about that peak power plant that Charlie Baker, you've had this discussion with Baker on the air in Peabody. Is that where it is? I think Peabody. Yes. His contention is, I think, not unlike Deal's, is we need something in high energy times to get us through this transitional phase. And he would say, I'm totally for clean energy. We just can't get from here to there as quickly as some of the Democrats suggest. I guess that's their position. They should speak for themselves. Let's go to Beth in a car. Hi, Beth. What's up?
Hi, Jim and Marjorie.
Hey.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
I want to get back to Jeff's comment.
Sure.
My mother and father had 10 children. They were physically, mentally, and financially prepared for 3, maybe 5. I want the Republicans to stop talking about the rights of the unborn children and maybe take a look at the literally thousands of teenagers I've worked with whose parents were forced for one reason or another to have a child. Unwanted children, there's millions of them in this country, and honestly, I want to look at their rights. I mean, my childhood was horrific. What about those kids? You don't want to provide services so they get well, but you want to make sure their parents are forced to have children whether they want them or not.
Well, you know the great line that we have quoted, Beth, many a time from former Congressman Bernie Frank is to a lot of these anti-abortion people, life begins at conception and ends at birth. And I think you make a wonderful point. For those, if you are honorably and honestly pro-life, as you call yourself, anti-abortion, then you got to put as much energy into caring for kids when they're born, particularly those, as you say, who have obviously some pretty tough circumstances. Beth, thank you for making that call. We appreciate it.
One of the texters says she's voting for more, but she wants to know why the legislature gets 5 months off. Would you like to explain that, Jim?
Oh, I didn't know they had 5 months off. By the way, even Baker says if he took a what's that called? I was going to say polyurethane. Polygraph test. Well, if he took a polyurethane test, it would really be odd.
Yeah.
Does he really believe, he's trying to be nice because he wants legislation to pass, 5 months vacation. And by the way, the reason they can't do anything, in case you don't know, I know I've said it 1,000 times, is when they're on recess, which is what they are for a mere 5 months.
Yep.
They can only pass something without one objection.
Yeah, unanimous.
So if one of the 200 members of the House and the Senate says no, and the other 199 say yes while they're on this leave or whatever it's called, they can't do anything.
Well, we heard over and over again from politicians that they could come back in informal session
and
try to do this.
No, they come back in formal session. They could be reconvened tomorrow.
Well, they could come back in formal session too, but have I missed it? Have they come back to vote through anything that's sitting up there waiting for their approval? So I guess they haven't managed informal or formal session.
Again, the rumor, and again, I don't know if it's true, most of them have been contacting their parents after last night. to ask that question. Talk about tough questions to broach with your parents.
Oh,
that
my
is
God.
really, really hard.
Thomas from Brockton.
Thank goodness my mother's not here anymore. I don't mean I don't want her here anymore, but I worry that...
As I recall, Jim,
I'm not telling that story.
Your mother said she was really happy she didn't have any children.
That is what she did say that once.
Sort of forget about you.
She did say, thank God I never had children. And she did. That is a true story. And she says as soon as the words crossed her lips, she realized, oops, I shouldn't have.
I've forgotten little Jimmy.
Obviously, she was not real happy with me on that particular day. But that is a true story, sadly.
Thomas from Brockton, thank you for calling.
I should have been in that debate last night, actually. Hi, Thomas. What's your deal?
I watched the debate last night, and it just seemed the platform that they had, it was more about the people asking questions than the governor and the challenger. I wish we could just go to a format of where it would be a town hall of where they wouldn't have loaded questions, select 25 people that range from very conservative to very progressive. They get up, they ask a question where it's unscripted. Each candidate is allowed, say, 2 minutes to rebut where they don't interrupt one another. And I'm sick of so-called journalists asking these tough questions.
Well, can I tell you, Thomas, with all due respect, and I have to be transparent here, I continue to be very unhappy. This is the first gubernatorial cycle where Marjorie and I have not moderated a gubernatorial debate, and I'd be dishonest if I said I wasn't upset about it. Having said that, the one thing that they did really well last night is exactly the opposite of what you're suggesting. What's the name of the guy who was moderating? What's his name? Ed Harding. Sorry, Ed Harding was moderating the thing. Almost in every circumstance, if the candidate who wasn't speaking wanted an opportunity to respond to what Healy or Deal just said, it was given to them. I thought they gave him as much free rein as I've seen in a debate. So I understand your criticism generally, but I think we're criticized for that quite often when we do debates. I thought last night they really let them go at it. So I hear you, but I disagree. Thomas, thanks for the call.
You know what I wish? I wish we'd get rid of these ridiculous time limits. It drives me crazy.
We don't have time limits on our debates.
Yeah, I think it's much better if there's a good discussion,
a
debate between the two candidates. Let them talk. Why do we have to rush in? Because it's not actually so much about the answer to a particular question. I mean, there are some basics you have to get out of the way, but it's seeing them go back and forth.
I agree with you
that
completely.
I love.
How do they handle a situation like that?
I don't like this. Okay, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. 20 seconds. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Oh, it could have been. I mean, for example, if they'd let him go just at it, he could have turned to more and say, so what'd your mother think? Bunch of kids in the Healy family?
That's right, 5 kids
Is
in the
it
Healy
thumbs up
family.
or thumbs down, Maura?
Yeah, did you make it or were you...
You know, I'm sorry I'm obsessed with this. I just have to say, I hope people don't think I'm overdoing this. I have never heard a line in a debate that equals that on an important issue in my life. I mean, I thought he was almost
Well,
joking when he said
you do see this a lot on the anti-abortion side. I mean, Tim Tebow, the football player, everybody made a big deal that she was a single mom
that's a
or
very
something
good
like
point,
that.
yeah.
And a lot of times when you see these people...
What was he running for, by the way?
He wasn't running for anything.
Exactly.
But you see a lot of ads along those lines where they get a bunch of people and they'll say, oh, no, I wouldn't have been here if, Roe v. Wade were illegal or if my mother aborted me or whatever it is.
By the way, the votes so far, 72-28 for me not being here. That's the on the text line. Oh, 73-27 now. Thank you for your votes.
Okay, I think we are moving on. Are we not?
And again, let's say it one more time. Maura Healey here, 11 o'clock next Thursday. Governor Baker with us 12:30 to 1:30 the same day next Thursday.
Okay, we are moving on because we're going to talk to the folks behind GBH's new show. It's going to debut tomorrow morning at 9:30, focusing on health issues important to the Latinx community. That is next on Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Hi, my name is Tibisay Sea and I'm a reporter with The World. I'm also the host of a new podcast in Spanish about healthcare for Latinos. En nuestro primer episodio de Salud conversamos con una abuelita guatemalteca que celebra su cumpleaños número 102 y le preguntamos a expertos en longevidad humana cuáles son las claves para vivir 100 años y más con buena salud. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 here on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you and Ocean State Job Lot, partnering with customers to help veterans in the Northeast by donating winter coats to those in need. More at oceanstatejoblot.com. That's oceanstatejoblot.com. And New England Dental Group, committed to helping you stop hiding your smile by offering a variety of dental implant solutions to replace missing teeth in one of their 7 locations. Learn more at newenglanddentalgroup.com.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browder. She's Marge. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Starting tomorrow morning at 9:30, a very exciting thing is happening on 89.7 GBH. We will air a new Spanish language show, Salud, focusing on health issues important to the Latino community. It's produced by GBH, the journalists at El Planeta, and the Harvard Medical School. Joining us now on Zoom is Tibisay Sea, a reporter with The World, right downstairs from us in the newsroom. She's the host of Salud, and Rafael Ulloa, who is the Executive Vice President of Content at El Planeta. Rafael, Tibisay, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. Sorry for butchering your names.
No problem. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's start with you, Tibisay. What is going on here? What's the goal?
Yeah, so we are extremely excited about this launch because I know the Latino community needs this. So this is a new show about healthcare and what challenges Latinos face in this country when they come here. You know, immigrants come to this country to work. Many end up working 2-3 jobs. They work at odd hours or do difficult jobs that nobody else wants to do. And that has a huge toll on our health. So on top of that, sometimes it's difficult to find reliable information in Spanish about healthcare, prevention, lifestyle. And when they learn about, diabetes, about cardiovascular disease, oftentimes it's too late. So we are so excited to bring this information to our Spanish-speaking community in Boston and beyond.
Before we get to Raphael, speaking about Beyond TBCI, is anybody in public radio doing this? That's one of the reasons I find it so exciting. Is it being done elsewhere?
Not in Spanish.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yes, and this idea came up during the pandemic. I was working for El Planeta as a full-time reporter, and we noticed, that misinformation in Spanish was a serious problem. And Rafael can speak more about this, but we feel like this is a public service that we are doing to our Latino community.
Raphael, elaborate a little bit about the health issues. Obviously, the not being able to get a lot of information in Spanish and stuff. But what are the unique health issues?
Of course, in El Planeta, we have been providing health information since the beginning. We started in 2004, and we have done health fairs. We had health-related supplements and magazines. But as TBCI said, it was during the COVID where we saw this was obvious, there was a lack of information, not only misinformation, but lack of information in Spanish that could potentially save lives in that moment more than ever. So that was one of the reasons why we thought we need to start doing this. We need to have this commitment more frequent, more often, every day. I remember TBCI was doing basically a 1 hour show every day, and people asked for more, and they wanted to have questions, and we were basically after the show was over, going to the doctors and emailing directly to our readers what the doctors say, or connecting them with people. So it was really an eye opener. But going back to your question, that what are the topics, the health topics that are more prevalent in our communities? I think of course, COVID was and is one, but then you have high rates of diabetes in the community, heart disease in our community. Those are two main things that if you ask any doctor, we have talked with many doctors during the last 3 years, and especially TBCI for this podcast, but they will tell you that they are so worried about diabetes and heart disease in our community, especially because many people couldn't go to the doctor, didn't go to the doctor during the 2 years of the COVID, the COVID, where the COVID crisis was stronger. So those cases are you are seeing them more and more. And of course, one more I would add: mental health issues. You talk with anyone, that people are really worried about mental health issues in our community.
So TBCI, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your first show is going to focus on two women who did obviously manage their health issues. One of them from Guatemala, I think is 102, and the other one is a 95-year-old Latino Grammy Award winner. I mean, most of us can't sing at 15, never mind at 95. So tell us about that.
Yes. So you're right. Our first episode is about human longevity. And, this is a fascinating topic. We found two real stories of two Latinas, who are an inspiration for many of us. But we also interviewed people who are doing major research on human longevity. For example, Dr. Thomas Perls, who is the author of one of the most exhaustive research about centenarians here in Boston University. It's exciting to see how these women are telling their stories, and then experts are explaining why they are centenarians, or they are close to being centenarians, and have good health.
I want you to know there are a lot of centenarians in Massachusetts who are still driving. Please tell them not to, if you know what I mean. I'm serious.
I often want to know, Raphael, maybe you can address this. We talk a lot about racism in medicine against African Americans. There are very few African American doctors, and there are these wrong assumptions. Somehow African Americans can endure more pain, and all these things that aren't true.
From doctors, not the general public.
Exactly. So I wonder if that's something the Latino community also faces, is plain old racism.
Well, the short answer is in some level, yes. I mean, the community needs to, our community have been in some aspects of their daily life marginalized or discriminated. But the good news, I want to focus on the positive. We have wonderful doctors who are Latinos in Boston and elsewhere, but we can we can name like a few in Boston that they're doing a great job, and they know that sometimes the access to healthcare for Latinos have been more difficult than for other minorities. So as Latinos, they are fighting to put Latinos, to bring Latinos to their hospitals, to give them the culturally appropriate healthcare that they need. So that is the good news, and I think like this is happening more and more. And we know, as I told you, wonderful doctors who are like leaders in Boston and in Massachusetts driving this change.
What role, Raphael? What role is the Harvard Medical School? Are they just consultants on this? Are they the content people? What role are they playing?
The Harvard Medical School is a very important relationship with us, and it's a relationship that Tibisay was instrumental when she was at El Planeta to create. So they are of course they have a lot of content, as you can imagine. They have tons of very deep content about health. So they are consultants, and they also help us to translate this content in a way that will be easy to understand, accessible to the average listener, to the average reader.
So Tibisay, tell us what tomorrow and going forward, what we're going to hear. Is it going to be interviews with different people, physicians, or people in the community? What are we going to hear?
Yes, something interesting is that when you hear about healthcare podcast, you might think, well, maybe it's not the most fun topic, but we made sure to include a lot of storytelling here. We tell real stories of Latino immigrants. It's not just experts. We have real people here, Latinos who overcome, real challenges, and they share their stories, how they feel, what they do, and what, we wanted to do this because we believe it's the only way that our listeners can really relate. So on top of this, we'll have experts, healthcare leaders. Our goal here is to help, immigrants understand how to take care of themselves and also connect them with the latest research on medicine. And when I say connect, I mean experts and leaders that gives information not only in Spanish, but also in English, and we do the translation.
By the way, we're talking to two people who are behind Salud. It was a brand new program, Spanish language program on health and health-related issues, starting tomorrow, Saturday morning at 9:30 on 89.7 GBH. So,
Raphael or Tibisay, either one of you can tell me this. We're going to hear the 95-year-old sing tomorrow. That's what I want to know. We're going to hear a few notes from her.
No, what did she win an Emmy for? We should find out. Do you know what she won?
A Grammy.
A Grammy, I'm sorry. What did she win a Grammy for?
She has been nominated as a Best New Artist.
Best New Artist.
Well, and she still have time to get a Grammy next time. She's living a long life.
What was she doing for the 94 years before this?
Well, listen to the podcast. I don't know if you can understand Spanish, but I can tell you that she was for a long time a frustrated artist.
Yeah,
she's from Cuba, and her grandson helped her, come here to the U.S. and to unveil this talent and record a new album. And she's really an inspiration.
Yeah, well, it's an inspiration, particularly for some of us who are a little bit older than you. We're thinking, gee, maybe it's not quite over. Yeah, you never know what you could do into your 90s. Raphael, tell people that don't know a little bit about El Planeta.
Well, El Planeta started, as I mentioned, in 2004, and we are the largest newspaper in Spanish in the Massachusetts region. We are super local. We serve our communities in Massachusetts, especially greater Boston area. And we have all sorts of news, very strong health-related content, of course, but we cover everything happening from the Latino perspective. So one of our goals is to reach the Spanish-speaking Latino community with content that improves their life, also that amplifies their culture and informs their decision-making. So we want to promote progress in our community. So in this case, we're really thrilled to see GBH on board and empower our community to become a catalyst to prosperity for Massachusetts and for the U.S.
Tibisay, is there a website connected to this? So when people hear it, I assume it's going to be content rich. And if people want information or to pursue something you touch upon, is there or will there be a website where they can go to?
There is a landing page for the podcast, and also, Rafael, I think there is also a landing page for a newsletter.
That's correct. The newsletter Salud.
Is
Yes.
Salud. And how do we get there? Oh, it's in the outro. We're just it's gbhnews.org/salud, SALUD.
Why salute?
Salud Health is a very easy to remember name, and it's very simple. I like those names are one word. TVSci got this idea of doing just salud.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very exciting. And I have to say congratulations to our bosses, too, for this, in addition to the two of you. It's a really exciting, groundbreaking kind of venture, and I think it's filling an important hole. So we wish you both a lot of luck and your colleagues, and I hope people will listen. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Good to have
thank
you
you
both.
very, very much for being here. And ditto what Jim said. Congratulations, and we'll look forward to hearing it tomorrow morning at
Great.
9:30, and Saturday mornings after that on 9:30 here at 89.7 GBH. Tibisai Sea is a reporter with The World and the host of Salud. Rafael Oyoa is the Executive Vice President for Content at El Planeta. And as I said before, Salud will air Saturday mornings, 9:30, 89.7. The show will be available on demand on YouTube and on all major podcast platforms the Thursday before each broadcast date. Tibisai and Rafael, thank you very much
Thanks
for
a
being
lot
with
to
us.
both of you.
And best of luck with this new venture.
We should give the
Thank you
website
so
again.
much.
It's gbhnews.org/salud.
Up next, Michael Curry of the NAACP and Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers joins us to talk about the latest health news here in the Commonwealth, the election, and a bunch of other stuff. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
It's not over yet. More smart conversation about community issues is up ahead with Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan on Boston Public Radio. Right after a news update from NPR. Stay with us here on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you and Delta Dental of Massachusetts. Good oral health is known to protect you from heart disease, depression, and more. You can discover the connection between oral and overall health at expressyourhealthma.org. And the DeMoore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University, where students can gain the knowledge businesses need in today's tech-forward economy. MBA, master's degrees, and graduate certificates available. northeastern.edu/future of business.
I'm GBH legal analyst Daniel Medwed, and this is 89.7 WGBH. WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. Boston's local NPR.
Ahead on Boston Public Radio, the Department of Children and Families has resorted to having kids sleep in their offices overnight because they have nowhere else to place them. Michael Curry, head of the Mass League of Community Health Centers and on the board of the NAACP, joins us to discuss. Then New England Legends host and legendary paranormal expert himself, Jeff Belanger, joins us to discuss some of the unexplained phenomena and folklore of the region. Then it's playwright and painter Ryan Landry, the Gold Dust Orphans. He's back to preview his Christmas play this year, The Little Christmas Tree, Shop of Horrors, and guess who's in it?
It's Live Music Friday. We'll be joined by cellist Leo Aguchi, composers Earl Manian and Kareem Rustam ahead of their show at the Powell Arts Center in Chinatown. Then we'll end the show by asking you about your favorite TV shows of the last decades. It's all ahead. Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Steve Bannon, a former senior presidential advisor in the Trump White House, is facing 4 months behind bars and a $6,500 fine for contempt of Congress. He was sentenced this morning in Washington, D.C. on 2 counts after he refused to comply with a subpoena from the House Select Committee investigating last year's attack on the U.S. Capitol. His attorney, David Schoen, addressed reporters outside the federal courthouse today.
I believe that the appeal in this case is bulletproof. The constitutional issues involved in this case are very important, but Mr. Bannon never got to tell the reasons for his actions with respect to the subpoena, never got to tell his story because the government insisted from day one on prohibiting any mention, any evidence, or any discussion to go before the jury as to why Mr. Bannon reacted as he did to the subpoena on the advice of counsel.
Bannon remains free while he appeals the decision. President Biden is expected to say more today about a plan to forgive billions of dollars in student loan debt. NPR's Windsor Johnson reports on Biden's upcoming remarks at Delaware State University.
Today's speech at the historically Black university comes just days after the Biden administration officially launched the one-time student loan debt forgiveness application. The federal program will allow student borrowers to receive up to $20,000 in debt relief, depending on their income and if they received a Pell Grant while in college. The administration is encouraging people to apply by November 15th, though the deadline isn't until the end of next year. Biden's program has been met with several legal challenges from states that argue that the president doesn't have the authority to forgive student debt. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
Israel is refusing Ukraine's request to provide it with weapons. Ukraine is disappointed by Israel's alternate offer. NPR's Daniel Estrin reports from Tel Aviv that Israel is offering Ukraine an air defense alert system for the civilian population.
Referring to an alert system, Ukraine's ambassador to Israel, Yevgen Korniechuk, tells NPR,
"Clearly, this is not something that we need right now. It was a request for this detection system a year ago."
Israel is aiming to protect ties with Russia, which has forces in Syria and hosts a big Jewish population. The Ukrainian ambassador disputed Israel's reasoning. Russia has reportedly removed many forces from Syria, and he says Ukraine's Jews need protection too. Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid told Ukraine's foreign minister Thursday that Israel is concerned about military ties between Iran and Russia. Israeli elections are November 1st.
I do hope that after the election and forming the stable coalition, Israel will do more.
Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
The Dow is up nearly 500 points, or 1.6%. This is NPR.
Newsroom in Boston, I'm Craig Lamolt. Law enforcement officials are declining to release a possible motive in the killing of a Concord, New Hampshire couple found near a walking trail in April. As NHPR's Todd Bookman reports, the man arrested in Vermont this week in connection with their death is facing extradition to New Hampshire.
The Attorney General's office announced the arrest of 26-year-old Logan Clegg late Wednesday. Clegg is accused of killing Stephen and Wendy Reed on a walking trail close to where they lived. The Reeds were a retired couple. He a Peace Corps volunteer who worked in international aid. She helped resettle refugees in the area. Attorney General John Formella spoke of their loved one's grief.
I do want to take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt sympathy and condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of Steve and Wendy Reed. We know this has been a difficult few months for them.
Formella declined to provide any information on a possible motive or any evidence in hand. Clegg is being arraigned in Vermont, where he was arrested last week on an unrelated charge. For the New England News Collaborative, I'm Todd Bookman.
The Science Club for Girls, which is based in Cambridge, hosted dozens of events this past week to mark Massachusetts STEM Week. Club Executive Director Bonnie Bertollet says there is a shortage of STEM workers, especially among women, and adds it's access, not lack of interest, that keeps those numbers down.
We, last semester, had a waiting list of over 330 girls and gender expansive youth with under-recruiting for our programs.
Bertollet says the Science Club for Girls is focusing on chemistry this semester, and there are more than 500 participants in 50 different clubs in Boston, Cambridge, and surrounding communities. Sunny today, high in the low to mid 60s. Tomorrow, beautiful, sunny, and in the upper 60s.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include DuckDuckGo, committed to making privacy online simple. Used by tens of millions, they offer internet privacy with one download. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified at duckduckgo.com.
For more original reporting, visit gbhnews.org.
Egan. You're listening to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. We are performing live, or broadcasting live, I guess.
We're performing?
I don't know why I said that.
Oh.
We're here at the Boston Public Library, where we are every Tuesday and every Friday, and we are streaming on youtube.com/GBH News. Governor Charlie Baker is going to be with us next Thursday. Not here, but he'll be with us on the air in Brighton.
He will. You know, one last thing before we introduce Michael. CNN is broadcasting Steve Bannon, obviously a chief former aide and strategist with Donald Trump, just sentenced to 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress. You know what I love about this?
What?
Another tough guy who's got nothing going. What was his line early on when he was
going to go medieval?
Go medieval.
Go medieval.
When's the medieval part
I don't
start?
know.
When he spends 4 months in the can?
I don't know. But you know, I'm really. He's done some very nasty things, and
He's one of the leaders of the insurrection. Yep. I mean, he's one of the leaders of the insurrection.
So he's the closest person to Trump that's done any serious time, and I'm
really
very glad about it. Yeah, very glad about it.
In any case, we're joined now by somebody who I'm guessing agrees, but I don't want to speak for him, of course. That would be Michael Curry. Michael's the president and he's laughing nervously. President and CEO of the Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers, also a member of the NAACP National Board of Directors, where he chairs their advocacy and policy committee. Hello there, Michael.
Hey, glad to be here.
Hey, Michael, great to talk to you. But I'm wondering, putting on your political hat, your NAACP hat, what do you think's going on? I mean, the Democrats were in much better shape a few weeks ago, midterm-wise. Now things not so great, and a lot of people seem to be absolutely unconcerned with voting for election deniers. So, do the Democrats do something wrong, or what are we to make of this, or what do you think?
Well, I don't think when you say people are not concerned with voting for election deniers, I know we know who that demographic is, that they're voting for these folks despite the fact that they know that they're not telling the truth and they're mischaracterizing the last election. That being said, I just left not even a block from here. The president and CEO of the NAACP National was here. Meeting in preparation for the convention next year. And we got into a conversation with one of our potential funders for the convention around the politics that are going on in the country. And I think we're talking about voters turning out. And how do we turn voters out for the midterm and leading up to the presidential election that people don't poll, they don't survey, that are feeling disgruntled, dissatisfied with the electorate, with the politics. But we have to do it on the ground and make sure that folks show up. Those are black and brown folks. Those are poor people. Those are people who feel disenfranchised. And we are in the midst of doing that work now.
So is that hope speaking or reality speaking? Because, you know, despite the fact that segment of the electorate you're talking about maybe isn't being spoken to, there's no denying the trend is away from people who actually believe in democracy and towards those who publicly and openly flaunt, undemocratic notions. So what's that about?
Well, I think we have to have some optimism because what we see on TV is not always what it is, or what we hear in broadcast is not always what it is. So you hear the extremes on broadcast, but really where it really matters is when you knock on someone's door, when you phone call, and you're right, it's still a challenge. Who knows what the outcome will be? But we have a machine that's working across the country to really try to turn out the vote. Particularly, we know that if black folks show up for at least, and this is nonpartisan, but that we make a difference in these elections. So what we're seeing is there's a challenge with black men, particularly. And if we can get them to the polls, then we'll see what happens.
What's their issue? Wait, what's their problem?
Well, it's the whole notion that people don't, someone said this once before about politics, but about healthcare too, is that people don't trust because we're not trustworthy. And when it comes to politics, a lot of promises are made. It's very toxic. And for many people of color across the country, we're going to have to convince them their vote actually matters if they show up, and that the person they elect, whether Democrat or Republican, will actually do what they say and deliver resources, opportunity, jobs, education, equity to their communities. That's what that's about.
But you know what? I'm glad you mentioned black men, because I always think, thank God for black women. I mean, they seem to be unfooled.
Consistent.
Yeah. So what is that about? It's just like I've heard this. I've seen this story before. I mean, because they don't seem to fall for a lot of the baloney.
Yeah, we've seen them turn elections across this country, and one is there. I think still today considered one of the most consistent demographics of showing up in elections.
Yeah.
We know the disenfranchisement in our communities, and we think about black men being mass incarcerated, nonviolent drug offenses. Now we have that epiphany in the country. We realize that several generations of men have been incarcerated. We realize that folks are disparately unemployed. So if the unemployment rate is 10 or 11 something in the country, here and across the country, it's 2 and 3 times that in the communities that we're talking about. That can deter you from showing up. So we need to make an argument to them that if you're not at the table, you're on the table or you're on the menu. And showing up and voting is being
that line.
at the table.
So Michael Curry, people may know Jean McGuire, legendary woman in Boston, in her 90s, was attacked in Franklin Park when she was walking her dog, Weimaraner, I think, who helped fend off the attacker, and so did she, and she's doing okay and a very inspirational person. But I wanted to ask you just for a second about Metco, because, you know, I've heard this joke so many times from friends of mine who ended up got the kids in Metco. They're on the way home from the Brigham with the baby. They just had the baby, 2 minutes ago, and they're signing up for Metco to make sure they get in it. And you look at people that have done really well, African Americans in Boston. A lot of them went through Metco. So it's kind of a depressing thing, what it says in a way, that you have to get in a bus at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to Andover or go to Wellesley because the Boston schools are continuing letting people down. And maybe we should just blow up Metco and let everybody from the Boston schools leave the suburbs. I mean, it is kind of brilliant that this happened, but there's not enough spaces. I mean,
we should do a little background here. One, Jean McGuire founded it. Number one, and two, you should describe what Metco is for new people.
I'm sorry, I should have done that, Michael. But you go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
So one is I'm one of those Metco parents. My oldest son Marcus, who's now 27, graduated St. John's University. My middle son, who was at Michigan State, just transferred over to Norfolk State, Virginia, is a Metco kid. The oldest went to Cohasset. And the middle son was in Metco as well. And I'm going to tell you this. Here's what I know about Metco. The reality is, for parents who are looking for options to get their kids academic rigor, to make sure they can be the best possible them they can be, and they may not find that within the choices within Boston's public schools, they've sought Metco out as an option. I can tell you my son had that. He had racial isolation. He definitely experienced microaggressions and all that other stuff in Cohasset. But I don't think there's a question that the academic rigor is higher than what he was being offered in a public system. A public system in Boston. That being said, staunch advocate for Boston public schools, Boston education. We need to make sure that all these systems are working to the maximum to make sure that all of our kids can compete, can learn, can grow. I always say this, and I'm going to say this to the two of you, and I may have said it before. I always tell people in the healthcare space, there's a little black girl sitting in Roxbury right now that's meant to find a cure for cancer. We will never know her. So if you had cancer in your family, if you are dealing with cancer, know that talent lies in all children, and they become adults when you train them, when you prepare them. There's a little black girl right now that doesn't have the school, the academic rigor, the books that she needs, the social supports. That's real. So we need to now make sure these kids in Boston get the support. So Mayor Wu, the new school superintendent, I have all my optimism that they're going to do the right things.
But can I know you've heard this before too, Michael Curry, but I would say we have heard the exact same line, and line comes out the wrong way. This is not directed at you, it's the words, it's not the messenger. With how many superintendents have we had in Boston in the last 6 years? 4?
A turnstile.
3?
Yeah,
a turnstile.
but she's local. I'm enthusiastic about her because she's local. She's from here. She knows the
Fine,
drill.
but every one of them was celebrated when they were picked until they left
well,
in fairly short order.
I was in some of the search processes.
You were. So this is like, it's like we've used deja vu all over again. I mean, you do it again and again. Every single elected official, particularly governors, talk about the achievement gap. How's that? I mean, Deval Patrick, first time he's ever on our show, talked about that being one of the major things he wanted to tackle. That was a mere 16 years ago.
Yeah.
How's the achievement gap doing, and particularly in the Boston public schools?
We make incremental progress in these areas. I was a keynote speaker yesterday for Disrupting Poverty Conference at UMass Boston, the Empath organization. Mayor Janey invited me to be part of the program. And one of the things I loved about the title is disruption. We don't do that well in Boston. How do you do things so differently that is disruptive that you actually shake things up and you can get kids the education they need? I'm good friends with Shagun Idowu, with some of the other leaders in this administration. They're thinking outside the box. I've not gotten a chance to sit with the new school superintendent. I'm hoping she's thinking disruptive. So to your question, we're not making the dramatic changes that you need to make to then get the kids to compete. I think COVID made all of that worse on every level. Whatever the achievement gaps were, expect the data is going to come out in 1, 2, 3 years that kids lost even more ground, both on the grade school level all the way up to college.
Yeah, but I don't want to get in a fight with Marjorie, and I risk doing it by doing this, so I'll try to do this quietly so she doesn't hear. When you said there are disruptors, you know what the disruptors are? Metco and charter schools. And the problem with Metco, which I deeply admire, and some charter schools, this is what Marjorie and I have been fighting about for years. If what you do in the disrupting thing is not replicable to what is, then the value of it is limited. I'm surely not saying, I know the comeback is...
Charter schools are replicable.
Excuse me. You know what the charter school should do, a charter school administration? Instead of setting up a new charter school, they should take over an existing troubled school in a city like Boston.
They've done that.
How many times have they done that? How many times
a couple
have they
of
done
times,
that?
I think.
Would you not agree that the replicable nature of something is huge?
Yes.
And I know what the follow-up is. Jim, if your kid had a choice to be in Metco, wouldn't you say, of course I would. Why are you laughing? Go ahead.
So here it's interesting you make this point now. So I did a 5-city tour 7 years ago. NAACP traveled to 7 cities to look at their
around
models,
the country.
Look at their public education system, charter schools, because it was a debate around charter versus public. And here's what we learned in that 7-city tour. We learned that some charter schools are doing some phenomenal things. They're thinking outside the box. I'm an African American, so I love call and response.
We do that, by the way, but thank you for sharing that with us.
Some call and response. They're doing some things where they're bringing in teachers who don't fit traditional models, who may not have the same credentials, but they're young, they're diverse. But what we saw was there's also some system problems with charter schools as well. Skimming, right? You choose students that are already going to do well no matter where you put them. You're steering students out of the school if they're problematic, which traditional public schools can't do, right? You deal with every kid you have, and you have to deal with them and train them and prepare them and meet their social needs as well, their emotional needs. So there's some false comparisons between the two. Most of our kids, the reality is most of our kids in this country, and particularly here in Boston, will be taught in a public education system. So shame on us if we think Metco, charter is a solution. It's part of the solution.
I agree with that.
The core of our solution is to improve our public education.
Okay, here's one last thing, because I am obsessed with the Boston Public School, because I'm like a lot of white families who left Boston because my niece and nephew, I was not going to have what happened to them happen to my kids, so I moved to Brookline. You know, I wasn't even that happy with Brookline. Sometimes I think I made a big mistake. But in any case, if we had neighborhood schools, and if we had more middle-class people in the Boston schools, because the Boston schools have become predominantly kids, working class and in poverty. And it seems to me that sounds elitist in a way, but if you had...
Well, especially since you admit, candidly, you moved out of town.
I did move out of town.
You're the middle-class family that moved out of town.
Right, but I think a lot of people that do not want to put their kid on a bus at 5 years old to go to Cohasset.
Yeah.
That's very traumatic. I remember my little nephew, who must have gone through 20 pairs of glasses every year because he's on the bus going from Hyde Park to Brighton, and they don't have monitors on the bus, and a lot of bad things happen. So that's scary to people. They tried to do busing in Brookline. It wasn't a race issue. It was a just movement issue, and it was like, oh my God. So I guess that sounds elitist to say, but you need a mix of socioeconomic groups, it seems, and we're not going to get it.
I hate to be a little contrarian around it, as I think it's less about bringing in people with socioeconomic diversity. It's more about lifting up the communities where there should be socioeconomic diversity.
Yeah.
So how do you get folks in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan to have more black businesses, brown businesses? How do you make sure that they are on the social mobility ladder and they can thrive and survive? I think people forget, for a generation of us who are first generation of Bostonians, our parents were relegated to certain jobs. My mother was a housekeeper.
Right.
Which is what many black parents, 6 million who moved up out of the Jim Crow South, couldn't get the same jobs that white families could get. And there was even a matriculation when you think Irish, Italian, they were barred from those jobs, but they were eventually matriculated in because the skin commonality. But there were black folks here who still had to go in the back door, who still couldn't get those union jobs, who still couldn't get in the front door. So we have to have that conversation. How do you reposition a community so they can take advantage of good schools, quality education, they bring the diverse income to the school system, because that's part of the formula too, is how do you bring your personal wealth and income to the options that your kids have?
Can I just say one not totally related thing, but you made me think of it when you said black people moving from the South. I had Stanley Nelson, the legendary documentarian, on TV with me the other night, who just made for PBS 2 one-hour documentaries on Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass.
Love it.
And if you think you know a lot about either of them, you don't. And these are 2 brilliant documentaries. They're available on pbs.org, and you should check them out. Can we do health for a couple of seconds here? One, nobody's getting a booster. Like literally nobody is getting a booster. Half of the people polled said they don't even know that there is a booster until the pollster said there's a booster. And the reason I'm a little nervous, beyond the fact that the Republican nominee for governor doesn't understand the value of a vaccine, he says you can still get COVID. Duh, we knew that. You don't die, or you're unlikely to die. 20% positivity rate in New York City, which makes me very nervous about cold weather Boston. Obviously, at the League of Community Health Centers, you don't just deal with today. You got to plan for the future.
Absolutely.
How worried are you about the future?
I'm very worried. I mean, it's so funny. The irony of being invited to come on today. I got my COVID shot today and my flu shot today.
How you feeling, Michael?
At Faulkner Hospital. I'm feeling good right now.
That's good.
Check with me tomorrow.
Okay.
But what I think is interesting is, one, we are concerned because it's the COVID we know as the winter comes, as potentially new variants come, folks are going to need to prepare for the vaccine. I think we have COVID fatigue, and people say that, but it's real. There was a photo I saw online the other day. It had an arm, and on the arm it had like 40 shots, and it said COVID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then the other, I think it said flu 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That was my arm, by the way. I'll let you know.
So I think the reality is I think people are feeling like, okay, I've had COVID, which anecdotally, if we think about our friends and family, it's gone through our families maybe once or twice. But we know that the protection doesn't last long.
Right.
The antibodies don't last long. That's what my primary care talked to me about today. So the reality is we need shots now in the arms so that when we hit those winter months, if there are other variants, we don't see a surge on our hospitals and we don't see a surge in our community health centers and more hospitalizations, more deaths. And we joined, the Mass League joined with other providers to encourage flu shots, to remind people around the importance of these vaccines. And I'm hoping we find some strategies to get people to take it.
By the way, for those who have a question about this, I'm not a doctor, nor do I you know what. You can get both shots at the same time, if that's your question, as Michael Curry did. But when you talk about capacity and potential surges, one of the things we learned is our public health infrastructure was prepared for nothing when COVID came. Are we prepared for a potential surge in greater Boston, should it come, in community health centers and hospitals and wherever?
Well, I think one is we know, and I was on a national coalition. I jokingly say I served on every task force known to woman in the last 2.5 years, and I'm not even joking. Every city, local, I was on Brockton, Boston, DPH, governor's vaccine, and I'm honored that I was invited to be on all of those. One of them was a national task force on modernizing public health, and a lot of our findings, I was with Governor Kasich, and others were on the task force with me. So he and I would jaw it up about sports once in a while. And we would talk about the fact that we weren't prepared because we didn't invest. And I actually use the word intentionally. We defunded our public health infrastructure. Defunded. We underinvested in it. So it couldn't contact trace, it couldn't test, it couldn't vaccinate. And then oftentimes all that attention and responsibility turned on health centers. We're all across the country. So public health, town managers, mayors turned to us and said, well, we don't have a system that can do it. So Health Center X, we need you to do it. Now, keep in mind, a health center has, several thousands of patients, some small, some large, and you're thinking, I need to prioritize my patients, and now you've been told that you got to serve a whole city or a whole town. Now, we accept that responsibility. I say we were born for a moment such as this, right? Poor people, immigrant people, poor, black and brown folks, 70% of the people we vaccinated are black and brown. But the reality is, if we don't invest in our public health infrastructure, we'll be here again, to your point. When the next surge comes, we won't be able to contact trace. We'll have to come up with equity provisions to make sure that those closest to the disease also are closest to the vaccine. So I am deeply concerned, but I'm good friends with Secretary Sutters. In the last 2.5 years, I've forged a really deep friendship with her. That transition between administrations concerns me. I know the candidates, I hope, are thinking about this and talking about this, but we can't lose ground because when we get to December and January, our hospitals could be overrun again.
Can we end on an up note? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, then we won't ask about DCF.
No, let's do something positive here if we can, okay?
Which is very sad. Kids stay overnight in DCF offices because there's no foster care for them.
Well, since you brought it up, I mean, do you want to spend a minute on it?
No,
let's not.
Okay.
It's a horrible story. You should read it in the Globe, and it's
not enough foster parents in Massachusetts is the bottom line.
Do you want to say something
I think
about that
that's
or
the
no?
bottom line.
I mean, the bottom line is that we've known, we use a stuck kid term when it comes to mental health in kids, but there's a stuck kid issue when it comes to foster care and placement for children in DCF. I want to just give a shout out to the DCF workers and those social workers. They're on the front lines and they see things that none of us ever want to see.
And the most underpaid and
underappreciated. And the reality is, if they're trying to house these kids in offices because they can't find, God bless them that they're trying to find a solution. Shame on us, just like with Mass and Cass and these other issues. We got to get in the same room, figure out the resources, pay for it, and then get these kids in the homes. And then for all of us who are parents and maybe have some space, we got to think about how we can support these kids who are coming from some really difficult family situations.
Can I tell you, the first year that Baker was Governor Charlie Baker was governor, I went to the annual, I'm sure you've covered it, Marjorie, the annual event at the State House of foster parents. I have never met people like this. Why you?
Beautiful
No,
people.
a lot of them are saints.
They're saying, I just can't.
It's very difficult.
And ironically, last night, Common Square Health Center had, and you and I usually do the Men Cook for Women's
Couldn't
Health.
make it last night. Governor was there
Governor
too,
was
right?
there, and Governor stopped Kate Audette, who's a foster child, and they ended up getting to a conversation, and the governor called his wife and did a video.
Oh, that's great.
Honoring the fact that she was a foster child, and that his wife has been in that campaign for a long time.
With Wonder Fund. Is it called Wonder Fund, I think, the organization?
Yeah. She has done a great job
with
that, because you're right, there's not enough, but there haven't been enough ever since I've been in Boston, which is a long time now.
Yeah.
I mean, it never seems to get
We got to
better.
do it.
The thing, by the way, it's worth mentioning since you brought it up, and then we'll never get to
Do you want to end on an up note?
No, but I do. Well, this is an upbeat. Is it Wonder Fund? Jamie, can you double check that Lauren Baker's thing is? The beauty of this thing, if people don't know, we had her on years ago when she started this thing when her husband was elected governor. This is not attempted to fill the hole that the state's obligated to do, meeting the necessities. It's to bring a little joy, a little extra something, a backpack with some fun things, some dolls, a basketball, or whatever.
All of it matters.
To add a little joy to a kid's life.
And we should point out that according to the story in the Globe, Massachusetts is the second worst state in the country finding stable placements for children. So that's kind of bad, since we are a wealthy state, that we're so bad at this.
Okay, in 1 minute, explain to me why King Boston is being named Embrace Boston, please.
So one is, I think things evolve, and I think, when you think about the King Memorial, for all of the folks who are listening, within a few months, you'll be able to walk down at Boston Commons and see a memorial that pays tribute to the Kings.
Was that your choice, I hope, the one that won, or was it not?
It wasn't. It wasn't my choice.
Well, you're wrong.
But I wasn't at the table at the time.
Okay, it was great.
I got added to the table later.
There were a couple of other good ones, though, too.
Yeah, a couple of other good ones. But the King, Mr. and Mrs. King, Dr. King and his wife met here in Boston.
Yeah, that's great.
King marched the streets of Boston. In fact, had one of his major marches down the street of, I think, Boylston Street, right to the Boston Commons. And we're going to have the embrace of the two, which is the design of the memorial. And Amari Perry Jeffries and his amazing leaders have come together, and I get to hang out with them. And we'll be paying tribute to that history. And then around the embrace will be a tribute to all these other leaders in Boston who've made a difference and really built this city and how we really deal with equity and justice in this area. So I am excited to be part of it.
Not only does he hang out with him, he hangs out with him at his wedding in Mexico. And because we complained that we weren't invited. It was Mexico. And he brings us, what cockamamie thing did he give us when you came back? What did he give us? Like a little... Whatever. Okay, fine.
It was very thoughtful of him, actually.
He tried to get me to out the people that were there, too. I'm like, I'm not telling you who's here.
I know a lot of people who shouldn't have, in any case. Let me just say one last thing.
What?
Paul English, who gave the first $1 million, and is the founder of
He's gonna be
Kayak,
with
to
us
start
next
this,
week.
is with us on Monday. And the only reason I bring that up is not to say he's with us on Monday, and it's primarily not to talk about this, but it's his new app around restaurants. We'll talk about this, too. When he was with us with... the co-chair of this at the beginning, Liz Walker, Reverend Walker, who the two of them were. I thought it was virtually impossible that that $1 million was going to be the beginning and the end of the fundraising. They've raised what, $28 million?
That's amazing, and it's grown beyond the memorial to an embrace movement.
There's going to be an Embrace
Plaza,
Center, formerly
yes.
called the King Center. That's going to be an
Yes.
education thing. It's great.
This is a movement, not a moment, as I often say. And I think this is going to be tremendous visionary that Amari Barris Jeffries is.
So you're on every committee except the committee that chose the thing, and thank God you weren't, because you would have chosen the wrong thing.
I don't get enough sleep as it is.
The
I can't
Embrace
really
is beautiful. Michael Curry, it's great to see you.
Okay, we've been. By the way, the website again, the Wonder Fund is WonderFundMass as an MA, wonderfundma.org. We've been speaking with Michael Curry, President
see you,
and CEO
Michael.
of the Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers, a member of the National NAACP Board of Directors, where he chairs the board's Advisory and Policy Committee. After a quick break, dust off your Ouija boards and hold tight to your wooden stakes. New England's relationship with the supernatural is a lot deeper and eerier.
A new documentary looks at Tanya Tucker's country music comeback after linking up with musician Brandi Carlile.
She was young when she started. She's young now. We have her here. Let's stop screwing around. Let's make sure we get out and see her play because she built us.
I'm Elsa Chang. More on the return of Tanya Tucker this afternoon on All Things Considered.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering Medicare Advantage plans with new benefits like enhanced dental coverage, as well as a broad network of doctors, hospitals, and specialists. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And Johnson & Wales University, committed to creating impact inside and outside of the classroom with internships, hands-on learning, and faculty who are industry experts. You can explore more at jwu.edu.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live at the Boston Public Library. I forgot if we were live for a minute. We are. Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We're joined now by a guy who I expected to look a lot odder than he actually looks. He looks relatively normal, but I don't really know him. Jeff Belanger. He's the co-creator, writer, executive producer, and host of PBS's New England Legends and New England Legends podcast. Jeff, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for being here.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you. Your mic is now on. Hi.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Hey.
So, okay, what exactly do you do, Jeff? Please explain to people.
Oh, gosh. That's hard to answer. So I chronicle weird tales all over the world, but especially here in New England. Haunted places, monsters, ghosts, things that bump in the night. Stuff that scares a lot of folks, but also I think intrigues us.
Most people think we're a weird tale, actually, here on the show, and you haven't done us yet. You know what I mean?
I'm here today.
Exactly.
I'm not even a guest. I'm here to study you. That's actually why I'm here.
Yeah, well, you know what? One of the weirdest ones I thought was the haunted house up in Orange, that you would move in as a single mom with your 11-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, she sounds like she really loves it. Fix up the place. The people in Orange are very happy, but I wouldn't want to worry about ghosts in the night.
Someone bought the Amityville house.
That's
6
true.
people were murdered there.
That's right.
And
Why did they do that?
Because it was cheap, because it was famous. People are infatuated with these stories, and I think some people want to own a haunted property. Some people think they can cash in. The thing is, Amityville's been made into movies. This house has not. It just made the paper. So there's a radar to this stuff, right? So people buzz about a building. They whisper it first, and then it goes around, and then eventually a reporter says, that building's haunted, and you do a story. And then from there, the legend grows.
So what exactly is a haunted house?
It's a reputation. It's a reputation that repeats over time. So why do we talk about the Lizzie Borden house and not a house down the street that's even older Well, for one reason, 2 people were murdered. The murder was unsolved, and that haunts us, no matter how you want to define what a ghost is.
Didn't I hear or read or somewhere, you think there were more people murdered in that house? By the way, she's got a connection to that. What's your connection?
Oh, yeah.
to the house?
My aunt and uncle owned the house that Lizzie moved to after the murder.
Maplecroft.
Maplecroft, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we go there every Thanksgiving and look for the axe.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a beautiful house. She was rich.
Yes.
Lizzie Borden
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very rich.
She did all right.
But the house on 2nd Street was the murder house, and
Right.
people turned that into a bed and breakfast.
That's right. I've been there many times.
Yeah.
And I think we're infatuated with it because it's true crime. It's unsolved. 2 people are murdered. Like I said, that haunts us. And of course, weird stuff happens in there. People tune into something. So you have true crime fans, paranormal fans. And that case, it keeps getting made into movies. So a legend is a living, breathing thing, right? It can't be argued. It gets bigger and bigger the more we talk about it. And the only way a legend dies is if we stop talking about it.
So have you seen any ghosts?
I have. A few. It's 25 years of doing this.
Okay, so tell us.
The first time I was in Paris, France, and I was 30 meters below the city in the catacombs, surrounded by millions of human skeletons. My last name is Belanger, which, of course, Bélanger in French, right? And so I think my DNA's down there somewhere. But I was alone and walking through this long tunnel lined with bones, and I saw what looked like a man step out from one side and go to the other and back, and I just froze. And I went, okay, if that's not a ghost, I don't have another word for what it is that I saw.
How drunk were you when you were in the catacombs?
I wasn't yet. I was getting to that. That was 11 in the morning.
That's
I was
right.
still of sound mind and body.
So tell us another one.
No, don't tell us another one.
Okay.
Tell us this one for a second.
Sure.
So assuming, raise your right hand and say you saw a ghost.
I saw a ghost.
Okay. So if that is real, I have not seen a ghost
That's
yet,
okay.
but I haven't been around that long.
And you haven't died yet.
No, I haven't. That is also
Yeah.
correct. That is a very
There's
good
time.
point. Why are you not more, were you terrified?
No, I was first of all, I was already surrounded by millions of human skeletons, well below a very heavy city.
Yeah, I'd be a little nervous down there just going.
So I was already a little
alone.
nervous. Yeah, no one would go with me. Who knew? They were at the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay, and I'm down below ground. I wasn't. I was just like, what is that? And the first thing I wanted to do was explain it. Well, maybe there's a side tunnel and I missed something.
That's what I would do.
But nope, there's nothing. It was a straightaway all the way to the end. And I'd interviewed hundreds of people about their ghost sightings before that. I started in this as a journalist. I would chronicle these weird stories around October, and it turned into a website and books and a job I never would have planned. And I always took the position that I believe that you believe. I wasn't there. I can't call you a liar. But then it happened, and I admit I lost some objectivity that day.
Can you photograph, since everybody's got a phone now,
Yeah.
can you photograph a ghost or you cannot photograph it?
You know, I've seen some weird pictures. I also have this app that'll put a ghost into any picture that you take.
That's really good.
So there's that,
That's
you
really
know.
good.
So it's a problem, right? I can show you something, you'd say, that's fake, that's Photoshop, and, you know.
No, I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
I understand there could be skeptics, but assuming you had your phone at the ready when that ghost was in the catacombs, if you had pulled it out and taken a picture, would the ghost appear on the photograph?
It was 2003. My phone flipped open. So anyway, but yeah, assuming today,
it would.
I assume so, but I was not looking for that. I was just trying to have an experience.
Okay, we talked about the Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Bridgewater Triangle. That's
Bridgewater
not far
Triangle.
from here.
No, not at all. So that rose to prominence in the early 1980s. Lauren Coleman wrote a book called Mysterious America, and he noticed a lot of weird stories in the area of Greater Bridgewater, where you've got Hockomock Swamp in the north,
Yes.
the Freetown State Forest down in the south. You've got so much weirdness in there that dates back really like to the King Philip's War. To me, that's the event that sort of left a stain on this area that can never be washed away. The Hockomock Swamp, there's been Bigfoot sightings in there. There have been other strange monster sightings. There have been UFO sightings in the Triangle. There have been the Carl Drew cult murders in the Freetown State
Satanic
Forest.
cult.
Right. So, I mean, you could say you don't believe in the devil, but people were murdered. That happened. And so all of that sort of weirdness sort of creates a thing. Have you ever flown through the Bermuda Triangle?
No.
No.
Or you've never been on a plane like over Miami or anything like that?
Yeah, over my.
Okay,
yeah.
well, yeah, you were there.
Yeah, okay.
Well, good. It didn't occur to you that, I'm in the Bermuda Triangle, right? Once you're aware of it, it becomes a thing. We did this documentary film like 12 years ago on the Bridgewater Triangle. And all kinds of people have come forward since saying, I've lived here my whole life. This explains it. This is why this place is so weird. I get every town is weird, but once you identify a thing, it becomes a thing. A legend is born.
Now, you said something interesting. In that 2013 documentary, here's you. We'll play you to you.
Good.
With an interesting angle about the Bridgewater Triangle. Did you ever hear the Bridgewater Triangle before?
I heard of it, but I don't really study it.
You haven't studied it?
But I did know about the murders there. I knew about Carl Drew because
Yeah.
he was from my hometown.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I knew about Mary Lou Aruda, who was murdered in the Freetown State Forest.
Right. Well, we hang out at different bars, I think.
It's okay. I don't think so, actually. Here's you in this 2013 documentary.
You know, when you're talking about legends in the paranormal, it's got to be the right setting. You are probably never going to make a documentary about a haunted McDonald's. It's just the wrong setting. It could be the most haunted place on earth, but it's not the right context for people to understand and appreciate a ghostly legend. The Hockomock Swamp it's the right setting.
So how many people believe in this thing here, this ghostly presence kind of thing, haunting and whatever?
You believe the polls, most people.
I know.
And now, by the way, let me say this. So
Yeah.
there's the ghost sighting is a spectrum, right? There's Abe Lincoln tipping his hat saying, 4-score.
Yeah.
And then there's, smelling grandma's perfume weeks after she died. I mean, there's a whole spectrum in there. There's having a dream that feels like it's more than a dream, or that feeling you get that someone's nearby and you look around and no one's there. So, yeah, I think if you include all that, we're human beings. We have empathy. We tune into things. I've been in haunted places all over the world, and when I walk into an old abandoned prison where people were murdered, killed, shivved, executed, and so on, I imagine what it must have felt like to be brought into a place like that and know this is home for the next 5 years, 10 years, or whatever.
Have you ever been to Gainesville, Texas?
No.
Okay, I want to run something by you. The headline for this, it's a word I don't ordinarily use, but it is in the headline. Is this the horniest haunting in America?
Yeah.
Okay, so this couple move into a place. I want to get your sense of whether
Oh,
it's
I'm on it.
credible or
I'm
not.
ready.
In Gainesville, Texas. And they're renting on a short-term basis exclusively for ghost hunting. So they're sort of like you, and maybe not professionally, but they do the same thing.
Or the House in Orange.
So the wife in the family is taking a shower, this couple. She sees a dark figure, and the figure says, "Looking good." And she assumes it's her husband. Am I right so far? Sort of trying to flirt with her kind of thing. And the ghost proceeds to say, oh, baby, yeah. Yeah, I like it like that. Now, I have to say, I didn't find that to be incredibly convincing.
Me
But
neither.
you're the expert.
Yeah.
You don't find it convincing?
Number one, I hope someone takes the audio of you reading that and turns it into a song, like with a beat,
Right,
right?
it's very
I can do it
sexy.
again.
Very
oh,
sexy.
baby,
No, we already got it.
baby, yeah. You
No,
got it
we got
first
it,
time?
Jim.
Okay,
Once
we
enough.
got it. Okay, thank you.
This is a function of the media.
Yeah.
The media goes one of two ways with these kinds of stories. Let's find the weirdest, most ridiculous thing we can, someone who'll make a ludicrous claim and sort of laugh at them, Exhibit A that you just read. Or the media sometimes just says, hey, let's just explore this. It's made my radar. I'm a journalist. I keep hearing people buzz about this particular story. Let's ask the questions. So this is the silly way. And, I wasn't there. I've never had sex with a ghost. I mean,
you haven't.
I wouldn't rule it out.
You would.
I mean,
No,
if
you
it
wouldn't.
was offered, if it was consensual, I mean,
I think she
Well,
might have,
look at
by the
Demi
way.
Moore and Patrick Swayze.
Right.
That's a good one,
In
actually.
Ghosts, yeah.
Just, Marjorie, you should know that was not a documentary.
It was not a documentary. No, it was not a documentary. But you know something, though? You mentioned people with grandma's perfume.
Yeah.
In my lifetime, I have heard so many people say
Yeah.
when someone died suddenly in their life, particularly if it died in the house and they're sleeping in the house.
Not it died.
The person died. Yeah, the person died. A relative, whatever, have seen that they, right after the death, and maybe just that they're in a grieving mode, they swear that they felt someone, saw someone, heard someone in the house. So what do people make of that?
I think we're connected. I think we're connected to people, and I don't think that ends when we die. I remember seeing my grandfather in his bed after he had passed, before they had come to take him away, died in his sleep peacefully, old age, But it's so strange. The first time when I was young, I went to a funeral of my grandmother, and I remember seeing her in the casket and thinking, it doesn't look like her. I mean, it's her. It should look like she's sleeping, but it doesn't. The woman I knew and loved was gone.
Right.
There's that thing, that spark. I've been a hospice volunteer. And
Really?
you talk to hospice volunteers who have held hands of people that have no one else. They've seen people sit up at the last moment, talk to someone, everything you can possibly imagine. And explain it away, that's fine, but I also sort of feel like, hey, we're all going to die. We're all fellow travelers to the grave, to quote Dickens. And what comes next is this amazing mystery. And when we talk about ghosts and haunted places, we get to have this profound discussion without getting into all the dogmas of religion and my belief system says this and yours says that. Be a skeptic and just enjoy the story. There's still some inherent value in it.
Okay, we're talking to Jeff Belanger, and he is the expert on all things, what do you call it, paranormal? What is this deal?
Weird, paranormal,
Okay.
with bumps in the night. You got
From
it.
New England legends,
Yeah.
he is. So Marjorie knows the thing, and I'm not alone in this, the thing I really want to see more than anything else in my life are the Northern Lights. And I know to see the Northern Lights, you have to go to Iceland, or should go to Iceland at a particular time of year. I'm going to do that eventually. If I want to see a ghost, so I'm serious, so I don't have to continue being the cynic, because you do seem relatively normal, and no, you do. I mean, you seem, I'm trying to figure out, I mean, you do. Do you seem relatively normal or not?
I think a lot of people who are relatively normal think that they are spirits.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's just
and
not,
he doesn't seem like a scam. Does he seem like a scam?
No, he does not. He's
okay,
a
fine.
upstanding young man.
Okay, good. So if I wanted to have an increased likelihood, I know there are no guarantees. You're going to say that. I want an increased likelihood that I could actually see a ghost. Maybe it doesn't have to be this, but saying something like, "Oh baby, oh baby." Yeah, but even if it's not that,
Please, someone make that into a song
Where-
before the sun sets tonight.
No, I'm serious. Where would I go? Where would I go if I wanted to, for a weekend, to increase the odds of me? I'm totally serious about this. Where would I go?
So I had another experience. I can count on one hand. 25 years of doing this on almost every continent now. I was in a place called Waverly Hills Sanatorium down in Louisville, Kentucky. Tuberculosis sanatorium. 400 rooms. Thousands of people died here over the years. Completely abandoned now and empty. And I walked into that building. I'm as psychic as a fence post. I can't talk to your dead grandma. I don't, it's got to be there for all of us to see, for me to see it. And I walked in, and it just felt electric. It felt buzzing. There was some energy to it. And there were 4 of us this time on the 3rd floor. And I imagined, tuberculosis, by the way, claimed 1 billion lives between 1800 and 2000. 1 billion, with a B, worldwide. It's still a huge global killer, and it was a huge pandemic in this country. And you might find this hard to believe, but during times of pandemic, people sometimes go a little crazy. You're going to have to take my word for it as a historian.
I think some of us went a little crazy in the last couple of years, right?
I get that.
Yeah.
So you've got this asylum. I imagined, if nothing else, like the coughing coming from every room around you as that just ate away at their lungs. And I mean the wet, gross kind, and these people were fighting for life. And so many died there. And I'm a human being. I tuned into that. I mean, imagine if they were there alive right now and you were watching people die in front of you. How would you feel? And that building, I felt like it just had something to say. Maybe it's haunted because it should be. Because we should remember what can happen when things go bad.
How many, could you raise your hands out in the audience? People, how many of you believe in, let's say, ghosts, for example? Raise your hand, and how many? It's actually more, what would you say? It's like 20%? Something like that?
Sure.
More than I expected.
Well, this is not your kind of thing, Jim.
How many of you are lying? No, I'm only kidding.
Are you married, Jeff?
I am.
What'd your wife think about this?
She loves it. We've gotten to go to some really cool places.
Yeah.
Tower of London after hours, a guest of one of the yeoman warders, changing of the keys, getting a private ghost tour. I mean, we've gotten to go to incredible places, meet incredible people, but it's not her thing, right? It's mine.
So it doesn't scare you?
No, I'm intrigued. I want to see something. I want to have that experience again. I don't expect to. Most overwhelming majority of the time, I don't. But I think it's kind of like a lightning strike. Lightning strikes the earth thousands of times a day, but not usually right near where we're standing. But if it ever does, you will never forget it the rest of your life.
So do you think if I
went to a haunted house in Dorchester, Jim.
Well, let's hear it.
I told you this before.
What?
I can't say whose house because they didn't want me to say it on the radio necessarily, but very famous
Well,
journalist.
don't do that. Whose house was it?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I know whose house was it.
But
Wait. Does the wife used to work for me?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay. And they would hear dancing on the roof.
Yeah.
And they would turn the radio station, not all the time, but in the old days when you had to turn it with a dial, they would turn the radio station. It would always be the same music, and it was this weird music on the radio station. And these were two, I mean, they lived there.
Yeah.
And they...
Who are? Just tell us.
I'll tell you later. And they said this is a haunted house. And they also talked about how if you walked through certain parts of the house, you'd also all of a sudden feel cold air. I don't know.
Do me a favor, because I can't stand the suspense. Spell their name backwards.
But I mean, they were normal people.
Yeah.
It was a great house. They had good rent. They lived there. And it was just known to be kind of a haunted house.
I wrote a book about the ghosts of the White House.
You did?
Really?
I did. It's called Who's Haunting the White House? It was a children's book. I called the White House years ago.
So Trump years is the subtitle, isn't it?
No, yeah, there it is. It's so funny. I purposely say, like, I stick to dead presidents just to keep all the fighting.
Just to avoid stupid humor like that.
Well, right.
Exactly.
Because I've heard it said every way.
Lincoln with the children who died there. Right?
Abe Lincoln's son, Willie, died of a typhoid-like illness in there. And Mary Todd Lincoln wrote in letters to her sister, he lives, Emily, he lives, he comes to me each night. You could say Mary Todd Lincoln needed a few more sandwiches at her picnic. I get it. You could say she's a distraught mother. She lost her son. I get that too. 40 years later, a military aide writes in his memoir that he heard the White House is haunted from some of the staff there by the ghost of a little boy.
What's the name of the book?
My book?
Yeah.
Who's Haunting the White House?
That's great. Before you go, tell us a little bit about New
what are you
England
doing
Legends.
tomorrow? No, also
I want to do that, and then you do that.
Okay.
What's the
Go
deal with
ahead.
New England Legends?
New England Legends is a project I started years ago on PBS, and it's also a weekly podcast. We're trying to chronicle every weird legend in New England. Odd history, true crime, but also ghosts and monsters, Lake Champlain, Champy, everything weird.
What's Lake Champlain?
Champy the lake monster.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's our version of Loch Ness.
Okay.
And it's an amazing way to see where you live, to meet people that have had strange experiences. You get below the surface immediately when you're talking about weird subjects like this. We're not talking about the weather or sports or politics. We're talking about stuff that's unique to these towns, and it's a connection to our past.
So what's the virtual event on tomorrow night?
It's
Monday night, excuse
yes.
me.
So Monday night for GBH, we're doing a live Ghosts and Legends program. It's going to be virtual. It's $20. You can attend from anywhere in the world. And it's something I've done for GBH for years now. Usually we did it live in the theater, but this year we're going to be virtual. And I'll just kind of take you on a multimedia tour of some of the weird stories and
How
legends
do
that
people
have-
get access to that?
You go to the GBH website, click on events, and you can buy tickets right through
Great.
there.
Now, we apparently,
Yes.
one of our colleagues, Aiden, found something.
Very excited.
What is it exactly?
We found some recorded sound of a ghost at the Boston Public Library from the 1800s, and we're ready to play
Okay,
this.
let's do it. Let's
Here
hear
we
it.
go.
Oh, baby, yeah. Yeah, I like it like that. That is the scariest thing I've ever heard.
Very good. Okay.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So before you go, are there close by BPL? We're in the BPL.
Yeah.
We were a little disappointed that was Jim, although it was a very dramatic reading.
I would have added a reverb, but that's me. I'm getting picky. I'm getting picky now. That's just me being a...
So
Okay.
where are some good local ghost haunts that we could go visit?
First of all, I have an app, the New England Legends app. Download it for free. There's a map to hundreds of
Great.
locations
I'm doing
that
it.
you can get.
Yeah, New England Legend app. Okay.
But it's, all over. God, Lizzie Borden's just down south. Salem's just up north, right? You've got the House of Seven Gables, and you've got the Witch
That's
Museum.
right.
Yeah.
Did you go up to Salem for Halloween?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Too crowded?
Way too crowded. Way too crowded. But I love Salem. I've got friends there who are witches. When you're into weird stuff, you make weird friends.
Exactly. I have to say, it was
Marge,
a
we could
pleasure
be
meeting
friends.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
Not
I'm
this
with you.
one.
I'm with you. Absolutely. I think you got a fun job. That's what I
It
think.
is. It's great. It beats
It
a
is
real
great.
job. I've had those. They're terrible.
Jeff Belanger, it's a pleasure. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Good luck
Thanks.
with your event,
Yeah,
too.
thank you very much for being here. This has been really fun. We've been speaking with Jeff Belanger. He's co-creator, writer, executive producer, and host of PBS New England Legends TV show and podcast. As we said, he's going to be hosting this virtual event with GBH on Monday night. You can get more information about it at gbh.org/events. Thank you so much for coming in, and happy Halloween, Jeff. After a quick break, when he's not too busy staging those hilarious plays for his Gold Dust Orphans Theater troupe, painter and playwright Ryan Landry is painting the Golden Girls for the Chicks. Used to be known as the Dixie Chicks, now they're just the Chicks. He's next. You're listening to Boston Public Radio 89.7 GBH.
On the ballot in November,
Question 2, dental insurance.
political reporter Adam Riley.
This is basically about where the money from patient premiums is going to go. Is it going to go to dental insurers, or is it going to go to the people who work on our teeth? At root, patients seem to be bystanders here. This is a fight between two parts of the dental industry.
Get the
about
full
where
ballot
our
questions breakdown at youtube.com/GBH News.
Support for GBH comes from you. And the Wheeler School. From expansive enrichment in lower school to upper school molecular biology, the Wheeler School is committed to making learning an adventure. Registration for their open house on October 22nd at wheelerschool.org. And National Grid, providing access to electric heat pumps that can help businesses achieve their sustainability goals. You can learn more about heat pump technology at ngrid.com/future.
Trusted. Local. News. This is 89.7 WGBH, WGBH HD1 Boston, online at gbhnews.org. Boston's local NPR.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browdy and Marge Regan. If you're not live at the Boston Public Library, I really suggest for the next few minutes you stream us at youtube.com/GBH News, because I have no idea what's going on with this next guy. You might know our next guest from his annual holiday shows that blend satire, puppetry, drag, and his distinct raunchy wit. And by the way, this season's show, which we'll discuss in a few minutes, has a couple of very special performers in it you might know. But when he's not crafting his next opus for the Gold Dust Orphans, playwright Ryan Landry is painting pieces commissioned by the likes of the Chicks, like the Dixie Chicks. We'll talk about that. Here to talk about everything he's been up to, we're joined by painter, playwright, of course, canned tomato influencer, Ryan Landry. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, James, and hello, Marjorie.
Well, hello, Ryan, but I must ask,
Exactly.
you've got a neck brace on and
Yeah, I sure do.
And a big thing around your head, so what happened?
I'm recovering from surgery.
What happened to you?
Well, I mean, you know, some people think Halloween is the scariest season. I find Thanksgiving to be. And,
Why would that be?
Well, you know, I started developing a turkey neck in my older years. And with these QAnon people, they're so gun crazy. I don't want them reenacting some pilgrim thing.
You didn't have
chasing me down the streets of Malden.
Did you have you didn't have cosmetic surgery on your neck, did you?
How dare you?
He did.
You were in a car accident.
I know. I had a little yank. Okay.
You had a little yank?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got a string. They put a string in there. It's some sort of string. So you don't have to have a facelift. They just put a string in there and
pull it tight.
String it up.
Exactly.
That's not true.
Yeah, cat's in the cradle, honey.
Cat's in the cradle. Okay, so next
Right
time
up
we
there.
see you, it's going to be like a night and day sort of experience, I guess, Ryan Landry. But you're looking a little tough at the moment, I must say.
I think he's looking the best I've ever seen him, to be perfectly honest. So, Ryan Landry, let's get the microphone.
Yeah, let's get the
Almost there.
microphone.
Okay.
It's difficult to
Hey,
put a mic-
Ryan, before we get, I'm mostly interested in discussing the show with you in some great depth in a minute.
better be.
So I saw a photograph of the Chicks, whom I love for a variety of reasons, political and talent, and they are holding a painting of what appears to be the Golden Girls.
That's right.
And it appears the painting was done by you?
It was done by me because Emily, the banjo player, had seen a painting that I had done for Natalie, the lead singer. And so she loved that painting. And so Natalie, as a surprise gift, gave Emily one of my paintings. And Emily is obsessed with the Golden Girls, so I put them all in the Grand Ole Opry as if they were the Dixie Chicks at an older age.
Oh, I love
and
that.
I had them holding banjos, and the painting was called Opry Till We Die. And they absolutely loved it. And now I got another one.
What is another? What do you mean you got another one? What does that mean?
They want me to do some abstract. Natalie wants an abstract for her room. I don't know exactly.
Now, let me
So
ask
you're
you.
friendly with them, obviously.
Yeah, they're very,
Wow.
very sweet.
How crass would it be for me to ask you how much you charge them?
It would be very crass unless you were commissioning a painting, and then I'll be happy to
Well, let's
take it.
assume I was commissioning a painting. How much would it cost me to get the Golden Girls with banjos at the Grand Ole Opry?
Well, you can't get that. It's an original, Jim.
Exactly. So you're not going to tell us.
do a portrait of Jim.
But perhaps I will.
Yeah, I think so.
We're talking to
An
Ryan.
abstract.
Ryan Landry. Can we talk about the play for a second? We were going to save that to the end.
Why save the best to the end? Gobble it up right now.
Yeah, we're
is
very
what I say.
excited. We're very excited.
Well, don't give it away yet. What exactly is the Christmas opus, as I said before?
Well, the Christmas show this year is based on Little Shop of Horrors, but it's called Little Christmas Tree Shop of Horrors, and it takes place in a dollar store in Revere.
Okay, great.
It's not doing too well until this tiny little unwanted Charlie Brown Christmas tree is found on the sands of Revere Beach, brought back to the shop, and all hell breaks loose. A Dunkin' Donuts manager playing the sort of dentist role, if you're familiar with Little Shop of Horrors, suspects that this is an alien, a gift from the aliens, and then all sorts of things happen and deaths and things, but it's really quite a nice little Christmas story, really.
Oh, good.
When does it, by the way, it's still Lithuanian Hall in South Boston?
You know it. The best place for the Goldust Orphans. That place seats 320 people, and the nicest pie, and the drinks are cheap.
Yeah, we went there last year. Was it last year?
We did. When does this, what are the dates for this thing?
We open December 1st, and we play until December 23rd.
Okay, so here's the reason. We're doing it to promote it because the Goldust Orphans are fabulous and you're a brilliant playwright, etc. This year, my understanding is, in addition to the Goldust Orphans, who, if you have not seen them, are beyond wildly talented. They
Thank you, James.
Wildly
Thank
talented. You have two, I would argue, huge celebrities in the community who are
Indeed.
participating in this year's show. Who would they be?
That would be Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan.
Let's hear it for that. Thank you very much. Now, what role are
that
we...
smattering of applause.
I would say smattering is
might have
actually more than
told
we
you
got.
The tale, James.
So what is our role exactly?
Oh, well, they, once the little Christmas tree starts getting very popular, then everybody the media dives in, and he appears, the little tree appears with his owner on this very show. And I have to use puppets for you two, because I'm not expecting you, James, to show up every night for a performance.
Exactly. Now, I was speaking of puppets. I'd like you to pull those two gold boxes that are to your right, and I would like you to open them and describe what's in them to people either here or watching, or listening or watching.
They're like little coffins.
Well, they are like little coffins.
They're like
Open them up.
Barbie size.
What is in there?
And you open them up, and I don't know if our studio audience can see, but some puppeteer made these, and they look exactly like Marjorie.
It's sort of scary.
Yeah.
The Talbot's outfit is totally down.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? The hair just a bit askew because of all she has to deal with Jim.
Yeah, that's right.
But still looking sexy and gorgeous and wonderful.
Yeah, little clogs.
Yeah.
Put her back in the little coffin there.
Very nice.
I'm going to sit her down there.
It's looking pretty good, actually. Could you open the other box, please, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah. This is the one you really want to see.
Oh, look who's there.
And look, it's Jim looking like a goodbye Mr. Chips. Yeah.
Can you believe those?
It's very appealing.
Why are the knees dirty, Jim? What's that all about?
Thank you,
That's a good question, Ryan. Very good question.
No, it's the wrong question.
We had these wonderful listeners who made those for
We do,
us.
and
Yes.
unfortunately, and I apologize to them if they're listening, they made them a couple of years ago, and they wrote a beautiful song about the show, and I can't remember their names at the moment. I will hopefully figure it out before the end of the show.
Maybe they'll call in.
But they were quite lovely, and they're
text
do you not find the fact they're almost a little too lifelike for me? Would you not agree? Ryan, I'm talking to you.
You are talking to me. Well, don't forget, I'm on Vicodin and Ativan and everything else. So
Excellent.
Though I usually tune you out no matter what, I am it's extra off the dial today.
Now, how long do you have to wear all that stuff all around your head?
3 weeks, but I'm not going to.
Wow.
I'm putting you back in your coffin,
Thank you
James.
very much.
You're not
Yeah.
going to be cremated,
Okay.
unfortunately. And there's Marge. I'll let you have your head out.
Thank you very much.
You know.
It is
Like
amazing.
that.
I mean, they're very talented woodcutters, aren't
Hugely
they?
talented.
I mean, they do look like me and Jim.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
They're
they really
beautiful.
do. Really do.
Now, having said that, I don't mean to
The
disparage
reason I wrote this scene in the show was James had to tell me how he had these fantastic puppets that were made, and yes, they are. And he said, and they're life size.
Yeah, not exactly.
So I said, this will be easy to, make a scene, and we can use these life-size puppets. But how are people going to see?
They're not
This
quite
is like
life-size.
they went under a shrink ray.
Well, figure it out. By the way,
I'll figure it out.
I want to say, in a moment of seriousness, one of us is wildly excited that we're sort of part of the
We're
Goldust
thrilled.
Orphans for Christmas.
Yeah,
We
we're
are too.
thrilled.
It's going to be great. Now, you have to understand, the script isn't kind to you, James.
I'm aware. I read the script.
You read
Script
the
is a
script.
riot.
Shocking.
You nailed it, Ryan.
Yes,
you
did I nail
absolutely,
it?
yes, you nailed
Basically,
it. Absolutely.
those who don't know what we're talking about, when they bring the plant over to Jim and Marjorie's show, Jim, usual, he has good intentions, but he just doesn't give Marjorie a minute to speak. And
a lot of people found that part of the show unrealistic, actually.
Yeah,
Ryan,
okay.
you know?
Yep. And I always said if I had $1 for every time somebody told Jim that he should let me talk more, I could have retired about 10 years ago, Ryan.
That's why his head's so big, because it's so full of ideas.
That's right.
I also want her to rest her voice, so her career is as long as is humanly possible.
That's right. So we're going to be featured. We're very excited about this. We're going to be featured with the Gold Dust Orphans this year in the Christmas show, Little Christmas Tree Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
I love the little ad with the good-looking guy going up the side of the building, putting up the Christmas lights.
Hammer in his pants.
His hammer in his pants. His pants kind of askew, as it were. Nice-looking man.
Where do you get tickets for this thing, by the way?
Huh?
Where do you get tickets for
Oh,
the
you
show?
get tickets on brownpapertickets.com.
Brownpapertickets.com.
It's a wonderful ticket platform because they give part of your ticket price to charity. It's very
Is that really
nice.
true? I didn't know that. By the way, Bobby Wayne and Dan Mosel.
Oh, Bobby Wayne and Dan Mosel, thank you very much.
We don't
It's
have the song that they did.
B.J. Wayne, Fine Art, too.
Yeah, they're
And
really talented.
The song was called The Ballad of Jim and Marjorie, and they sang it for us here.
They did live.
They did. It was a great moment in our time here at the Boston Public Boston Public Library. So, do you want to have any more questions about can we move on?
No, we can move on to a couple more things.
Well, because
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I can't get over the fact that your family owned Maplecroft, Lizzie Borden's house, after she,
That's right. They did.
The chop.
They moved up there, and it was a big old beautiful house.
Oh, I
and
know
it.
it.
Was my Aunt Mary and my Uncle Frank, and they lived there, and we would go there for Thanksgiving, and we would look for the axe because it was kind of one of those scary houses. But then it became, prices got more expensive. They sold it for they didn't sell it, unfortunately, but the people after them.
It's a bed and breakfast now?
I think it was, no, the actual murder house is a bed and breakfast.
Well, yeah, I rented that whole house on my 50th birthday.
The Lizzie Borden house on 2nd Street?
Oh, God, I brought all the Gold Dust Orphans there. We slept over. I slept in Lizzie's bed.
What'd you think? Haunted?
No, but she must have had a cat.
It really smelled bad in there? Oh, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. But Maplecroft is about a mile and a half away from there, and it's a beautiful house, and somebody came in and restored it in its original
Oh, I know. I saw the
beauty.
picture.
So, and I think they tried to sell it for a lot of money, but I don't know if they got a lot of money or not.
Well, living in Fall River
I know,
is...
I know, but things are picking up. I mean, even
Are
there.
they are?
Yeah, well, sort of.
Well, since you took us off topic, can I take us off topic too?
Do it.
You remember, for people who are faithful listeners to your show, thanks to Ryan's affiliation with us, some people in the canned tomato industry found out about Ryan about a year ago, was it?
Yeah.
And you got an all expenses paid trip to Italy, is that correct?
And now I'm going back to Italy to study painting at the Florence Academy of Fine Art.
Is that really true?
That's really true.
And you texted me the other day, you said you were in Greece. Were you in Greece?
I was in Greece.
So was this you become like a Kalamata olive influencer?
I've reached the time. I'm not getting any sex these days, so it's. I'm going full on caftan.
Okay.
I'm just going to wear caftans all the time.
Just hope something comes your way. Is
How
that the
can you
point,
get
or
your
what?
sweater off?
Huh?
How do you get your sweater off?
With my SpongeBob
all your stuff,
SquarePants thing.
It must be difficult.
I don't know if I'll ever take the sweater off.
Poor Ryan.
Yeah, they'll think I'm doing a real authentic zombie because I'll smell like one as I walk down the streets of Halloween.
Hey, Ryan, before you go,
Actually,
not that
you got your costume.
go,
You got your costume right there.
Before you go, as I said, I know you don't like advice because, by the way, the guy he's a big-time playwright.
Big-time playwright.
He's a
and the
celebrated,
plays are a
award-winning.
riot.
They're brilliant.
And you know what? I like the Lithuanian Hall much better. There's more space.
Don't you love it?
Yes, I do. I was
Let's
a
hear
little
it for the
claustrophobic in
Lithuanian
the
Hall.
Let's hear it for the Lithuanian Hall. Absolutely.
It's true, folks. You got to see it because they haven't frigged it up with all that, Home Depot modernism garbage. It still looks like the 40s. It's just like inside, and I don't mean like it's like all dirty or anything, because people are so freaked out by dirt these days. They want everything torn out and put back in again. You can still keep a place clean if it was built in 1940, and it's so beautiful.
Well, I think we can honestly say nobody has any idea what you're talking about. So let's move on to one other thing. The recommendation...
That lady did. I see a lady right there. She knows exactly what I'm talking
actually,
about.
I can look at... She feels bad for you. Feel bad for him?
No,
so do
don't
I.
feel bad for him.
How can you not feel bad? You look like you were wrapped around a pole of a mass.
What?
So before you leave...
this is the second time you've
been to It's actually the third time. I have a suggestion for you. In addition to Jim and Marjorie, not referring to myself
Hire
in
the
third
handicap,
person.
Jim. Hire the
We
handicap.
don't use the term handicap anymore. We say disabled, but that's okay.
Hire the disabled.
Have you seen, this would be so huge in the Lithuanian Hall with the gold. Have you seen the guy who is the Guinness Book of World Records eye popper? Did you read about this guy?
Oh my God!
Could you describe?
Yeah, you're going to talk about
unfortunately,
him.
we can't show people on the radio. Explain what eye popping looks like exactly.
Well, I guess for him it's a talent, but the problem is when you read the article, they didn't have any pictures of him not popping his eyes.
That's a very good point. But
made you a little nervous.
But it's just basically, you know, like when you see a ghost in a cartoon and the eyes go,
and they
like
come
that.
out of the sockets.
Yeah, well, they don't come out, but they pop. They sort of open the door and say yes, but they don't really come out.
And he does. And his Guinness Book of World Record eye popping was almost a full inch out of the position
really
that the eye should
disgusting.
normally be.
And you can do it for 20 to 30 seconds.
Now that's a talent. Would you not agree?
I've been looking for a full inch or more for so damn long. But not in the eyes.
Not in the eyes.
Thank you. No.
Well, it's really.
Well, you
disgusting.
set me up, James.
I know, thank you.
I'm
You'll
really
be in the lounge on
disappointed.
Thursdays.
We don't have time to talk about Martha Stewart as an 81-year-old.
Wait a second. We have sound for the Ballad of Jim and Marjorie.
Oh, we do?
Here it is. But I want to credit these people again. We didn't even know them. They show up. It's Bobby Wayne and I don't know if it's Mosel or Moselle. They not only did these things, which are so lifelike other than being small, that it's unbelievable. This is the Ballad of Jim and Marjorie that they wrote. Just listen.
It's fun to see when Marge deflates her co-host when he bloviates or interrupts her or relates how Whole Foods captivates. If Margie's laughing sparkling wit don't win your heart, then I submit go City of Life as they are twins. They're show and then perchance. Once you've seen them, you'll declare they're more like Rogers in a stare than any co-host on the air. And you should see them dance.
And then the puppets dance, by the way.
Puppets dance.
Let's hear it for the Ballad of Jim and Marjorie.
Bobby Wayne and Dan Moselle, geniuses.
That's just the beginning.
Geniuses both, yeah.
You have anything you want to say about that or not?
About what? That song?
Yeah.
Maybe they
it
could
reminds me of Malvina Reynolds. Do you know who she is?
No.
She sang a song about I got no hole in my head. It was a protest song, but it's a fantastic. Her voice sounded exactly like
That's
it.
beautiful.
Folk singer.
Anything else you want to say before you go?
No, just please come see Little Christmas Tree Shop of Horrors. There are 17 huge dance numbers. There's 200 costume changes. It's going to be a ball. You're going to have the time of your life. Ask anyone who's gone. Many families come year after year after year. They can't get enough of the Gold Dust Orphan stuff.
And you're going to be okay by the time the show begins.
Oh, God, I'm okay now. It's just I got to wear this, like, little helmet. But, you know.
All
I mean,
right.
I could put a wig on it. Might look kind of cute.
It's very attractive.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. I just thought you got in a car accident. I'm glad to know you
No,
didn't.
no. I got my chin.
We know what you got.
Yeah.
What was wrong with your chin? You had a beautiful chin. You're a handsome guy,
like I
Ryan.
said, I don't like looking like a turkey and not around the fall.
So, before you go one more time, and I'm not going to say that again because you are going to go.
Yeah.
Where do you get tickets, did you say?
You get tickets at brownpapertickets.com and then simply look up Little Christmas Tree Shop of Horrors.
And let me say, we're not promoting this just because we're in it this year. It is as much
We've
fun
gone every year
as
for
you
years.
can possibly imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Having.
This bunch of clowns comes every
That's
year.
right. Plus, you can have cocktails.
So we have gorgeous cocktails, and not
Gorgeous
too
cocktails.
expensive. But then
Cheap.
some of your staff does get unruly, Jay.
They do.
Yeah.
They've been out of order year after year. We always have to speak to them afterwards.
We have
reprimand them.
Leash them in, or maybe we'll get one of those ropes and they all get tied to it.
That'd be good.
We can drag them around.
This is not helping our careers at all. But thank you, Ryan Landry.
Okay.
It's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to see you, and I love you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much, Ryan Landry. Ryan is a
my
painter
God.
and playwright, and you can buy your tickets for the Little Christmas Tree Shop of Horrors right now if you go to golddustorphans.org.
Starring Jim Browdy and Marjorie
Starring
Egan.
Jim, well, it's not starring
Well,
us,
sort
but
of.
we're part of the festivities. Anyway, Ryan, Brian, thank you very much. I hope you feel
Thank you,
better
Brian.
and get that stuff off your head.
Nice
and
pair of
neck
pants,
soon.
too, by the way.
Okay, after a quick break, our Live Music Friday series is back at the Boston Public Library. We'll speak and hear a performance from cellist Leo Iguchi, who's highlighting the complexities of the immigrant experience in this great new show premiering Saturday at the Powell Arts Center in Chinatown. We're also going to talk to some of the composers behind the show. We're very excited about that. That's next, Live Music Friday. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH.
A new documentary looks at Tanya Tucker's country music comeback after linking up with musician Brandi Carlile.
She was young when she started. She's young now. We have her here. Let's stop screwing around. Let's make sure we get out and see her play because she built us.
I'm Elsa Chang. More on the return of Tanya Tucker this afternoon on All Things Considered.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, offering MedX Medicare supplement plans that include no referrals, worldwide travel coverage, and the ability to see any doctor that accepts Medicare. BlueCrossMA.com/go. And the University of New England in Maine, preparing students to do their part to support healthy people, healthy communities, and a healthy planet. The University of New England. What's your part? une.edu.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. I'm Jim Browdy. She is Marjorie. We're live at the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. As part of our Live Music Fridays, we're joined now by cellist Leo Iguchi, who tomorrow night is debuting his new show, Unaccompanied, at the Powell Arts Center in Chinatown. In 8 short pieces, each is composed by a different person with their own unique instincts and influences, an immigrant or a first-generation person in America. We'll hear from 2 of the composers. The first of whom is heavy metal violinist, I love that, Earl Minian. How did I do, Earl? Was that close?
Awesome.
I really did?
Awesome.
I was nervous, but thank you. It's
I'm
good to meet
nervous
you. Who joins us at the interview desk, Kareem Rustam. Hi, Kareem. You're right behind me. We'll see you in a few minutes. And for more information on the event, which is free, which we love, Powell Arts Center, PAOArtsCenter.org, PowellArtsCenter.org. Leo, Earl, great to have you here. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. So let's start with you, Leo. Elaborate on what Jim said. What's going on?
Sure. So I was reflecting on my personal experience as a child of an immigrant during the last, shall we say, 5 years of an anti-immigrant sentiment. And I wanted to get off the sidelines and find a way to contribute to the conversation. And, you know, we live in an environment right now where it's really difficult to have a conversation about the issues. Feels like 2 monologues happening at the same time and no listening. And I wondered, as a musician, if maybe we could use music to tell our stories in a way that sort of cuts through that. And we could listen to each other and learn a little bit more about our fellow Americans.
So what did you compose, Earl, that fits the theme that your colleague here is explaining?
All right, so full disclosure, I kind of followed the brief, but I also kind of didn't follow the brief.
We should tell them about the brief.
Oh, okay, so tell them about the brief first.
In designing this project, I commissioned these 8 composers to write a short piece in which they tackled some aspect of the question of what does your Americanness sound like. Mm-hmm. So for some composers that could be something that they've acquired from this country, it could be something left behind, it could be just something about their personal identity and how they interact with the country. And I'll let Earl...
So how'd you violate the rules, Earl?
Yeah, so I basically thought about it for a second, like the idea of Americanness and all of this, like it got too vague. Like, what am I going to write, like Copeland or something? So then I just basically ignored the brief and just wrote him an honest piece of like, this is what I want to write. It honestly wouldn't have been very different had he had just said, can you write me a piece for solo cello and that was the full brief, and just do this. But but then you could also spin it, or not spin it, but you could also say, hey, I'm getting different composers who are all first-generation Americans, and this is all their, this is what they're coming out with. And then you could kind of take the step back and say, well, this is a slice of American society.
I buy that totally.
Earl,
Can I ask you a question, though, Earl, for a second? And that's what you're going to play in a minute, Earl's piece,
I'll play
correct?
an excerpt from it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a heavy metal violinist, is that correct?
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah.
But look, but you one of the things you do, and we're reading, you do 1,000 things. You play at Orthodox Jewish weddings?
Yes.
A heavy metal violin at an Orthodox? No, explain. Can you?
I don't know. I don't know. The labels are funny, right? Like, so the thing is, so I guess they say heavy metal violins because, like, my background is and this is why it kind of reflects on the piece. So, like, I came up in a neighborhood where all my buddies were listening to either hardcore punk or metal, right? So, like,
What neighborhood?
Belrose, Queens.
Okay.
Right. So.
Well, you started studying the violin at 4.
Yeah. So it was like the sort of like
Pretty
schizophrenic,
young.
like two different worlds, right? So like I would go to like Saturday music, sort of like, violin school, right? But then like I'd be like sneaking out. Sorry, Mom, Dad. But like like I'd be kind of like going to like these VFW halls and like kind of like church basements and like going to these hardcore shows. So that's what it is. So I kind of incorporated that kind of ethic into the music that I do. So is it heavy metal? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's
I do know what you mean.
It's just whatever. So there's that. But then I think when you mentioned the Orthodox Jewish stuff, the weddings are super amped. It's actually kind of like a punk show. Like I don't know if any of you guys have been to like weddings like this, but like they're literally trampling over each other. It's like super exciting. So they want somebody who's gonna bring that kind of energy. They want people to they want them to climb up the PA speaker and like kick over stuff and like
Wow.
Like that's actually kind of like, and it's weird because when I do reform,
Reformed Jews we're talking about.
So sometimes I'll
With
do
the
like
chair things.
right.
This
So
is not quite where I expected this to go, but
no,
go ahead.
no, I didn't mean it. So when you do reform, so for me, it's so sorry, it's so boring because it's like
They're not climbing
so
up the
slow.
things. Those Reformed
all the
Jews, I know what you
tempos are
mean.
slow. Everything.
I'm
is
a conservative Jew. We can talk after the show. So before you go to play whatever you're playing of Earl's here, what are you playing exactly?
So Earl's piece is called The Wandering, and he says that he violated the brief, but actually, to me, it's absolutely in keeping with the intention of this project that he is a product of his neighborhood, and his neighborhood is in a place in this country, and I asked him to write a piece, and my main thing about it was that I wanted it to be sincere to him, and if there was, if the labels weren't working for him, which, I mean, a label is clumsy.
like for a second.
Can I make a suggestion? While you're talking, why don't you take the headphone off, go over to your cello, and you say what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Like for a second, I was like, I'm so ethnically, I'm Thai and Chinese, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I was like, oh well, what if I like, listen to like some, like Renat Ek playing and like, like try to like this is just BS. It's total because that's not really like, that's not real to me. Like in that way, that's not like how I grew up. That's not really like I heard my dad listening to that kind of stuff sometimes, but like it didn't seem like I could shoehorn it in. So,
Before Leo plays that, how happy are you with his interpretation of what you wrote?
I love it.
Fabulous. Your piece, Earl, played by Leo Iguchi. Leo, welcome. Dying to hear it. Leo Gucci.
Wow. That was
right.
incredible. That was
It is incredible.
By the way,
Carol,
Leo has been
congratulations
described
on that,
as
too. It was
copiously skilled and confident by the New York Times and ravishing by the Standard Times of New Bedford, which is pretty. Your technique is unbelievable, Leo. That was just unbelievable. That is so hard to do. And now we're joined by Kareem Rustam, excuse me. You have been everywhere. Your work's been performed by the BBC Symphony, the Boston Symphony Orchestra. You collaborated. We saw arrangements for Tina Turner and Shakira. I think we
Beyonce
saw
and
Beyonce
Shakira.
and Shakira. That's the one we watched this morning.
It's only the sexiest video I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
whole
Jim
life, but
watched
that's for another day.
watched it 6 or 7 times this
Yikes.
morning. It was pretty impressive. So what's your deal here?
How did we meet, Leo? We've just mutual friends, Boston music scene, and at some point, before the pandemic, I don't remember, but this project came up, and Leo asked me to write a piece for this, and of course I was thrilled.
What'd you write? What'd you contribute?
So I was born in Damascus, Syria, and I grew up there, moved to Massachusetts at about 13, right? And one of the places we used to visit as a child was this 6th century monastery in the hills north of Damascus. Beautiful, beautiful place, all built into stone, built into the cliffside. And I have very, very strong memories of that place, especially the church itself was just gorgeous. And during the lockdown, I found these archival recordings of Syrian Orthodox church hymns that were recorded in that place and other places, and I just started to just listen to those, and I was just enraptured by them. So the piece that I wrote for Leo was really inspired by those, and really this sort of the brief, if you will, for me was what does one bring as an immigrant? You bring memories, you bring your culture and that sort of thing. So I wrote Leo a very meditative piece.
Can you talk for a second? We're obviously going to hear you play what Kareem did in a second. There's 6 pieces of this that we won't hear portions of today. Can you give us, we know what the common theme is, but talk a little bit for a minute about them, Leo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The range of experiences of immigrants in this country is infinite, and yet there are common questions, I think. And when I was commissioning these composers, I was looking for a wide variety of experiences as well as styles. So you'll hear that Kareem's work is very different from Earl's, much like their personalities. And also, there are some very abstract pieces. There are some very immediately accessible pieces. There's works by people who very much identify as American but have an immigrant background. There is Milad Yusufi, who is an Afghan refugee, making his way as a composer here in the States, contributed a piece, and he was supposed to be with us this weekend. He actually wasn't able to make the trip in the end because of an immigration hearing. And so what you will find in the range of these 8 pieces feels beautiful to me in that it feels like it represents an interesting cross-section of what's out there.
Leo, you mentioned, before you go, you mentioned that your parents came here from another country. Where did they come from?
My father is Japanese.
Your father's Japanese. And has he found, you mentioned the difficulty these last few years, has your father had...
Because of the anti-Asian animus in this country.
Yeah, I mean, my father is so funny. I don't always know that he would recognize the change.
Yeah.
He certainly wouldn't talk about it. I have noticed Yeah, my dad he's one of those folks that if he does, he's not bringing it up. But one of the things that's part of this project for me, and I think lots of other sort of mixed race and mixed immigration experience households experience this, is that I had different experiences growing up, whether I was with my mom or with my dad. And that gave me a kind of a window into, like, here's what privilege looks like, and here's what privilege doesn't look like. And
because your mom's white.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the lack of privilege that I experienced is only one sliver of what is out there. But I think that gives a perspective that is different than what my dad has.
Why don't you revisit your cello, and we'll talk to Kareem for another second. So, Kareem, let me ask you the same question I asked Earl. Raise your right hand. What do you think of how Leo treated your piece?
He's beautifully, really beautifully.
Are you nervous when you write something for somebody else about where they'll take it? I don't have your skill. I can't.
Well, I mean, there's the first nerves is like, oh, did I make any mistakes in the scores? Is it going to be a train wreck? And once you get over that, then say, hey, wait a minute, they played a wrong note, and then you sort of you build a confidence and sort of approach the piece, in a different way.
Yeah.
But hearing Leo play it for the first time, it makes a difference when you know the musician, when you're a friend with that person, and there's a level of trust. That's
Jim is
very
too
special.
embarrassed to ask you the lowbrow question. He really wants to know what you think of the video of Shakira and Beyonce that he watched like 6 times this morning. Pretty impressive.
I worked with her briefly at her home.
Which her, Beyonce or Shakira?
With Shakira at her home in the Bahamas, and she was lovely, very smart person, incredible ears, a real musician. So it was an interesting life experience. But
what's the name of the video? It's from 2007.
Oh God.
We'll look it up in a second. We'll tell everybody. Leo Iguchi, yet again, welcome, Leo.
Wow.
Leo Gucci. That was great. Karina was beautiful.
That
Very
was
powerful.
just amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much for being here. We've been speaking with cellist Leo Gucci, composers Earl Manian and Kareem Rustam. The show Unaccompanied premieres tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Powell Arts Center in Chinatown. Tickets are free, but donations are always welcome, and more info can be found at powellartscenter.org.
PAO, just so we know. PAO.
Yeah, PAO. It's even though it's pronounced PAO. After a quick break, the Boston Globe is trying to whittle down the best TV shows of the last 50 years. What's your must-watch pick? Give us a call or text at 877-301-8970. You're listening to Boston Public.
Hi, my name is Tibisay Sea and I'm a reporter with The World. I'm also the host of a new podcast in Spanish about healthcare for Latinos. En nuestro primer episodio de Salud, conversamos con una abuelita guatemalteca que celebra su cumpleaños número 102 y le preguntamos a expertos en longevidad humana cuáles son las claves para vivir 100 años y más con buena salud. Tomorrow morning at 9:30 here on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Ocean State Job Lot, partnering with customers to help veterans in the Northeast by donating winter coats to those in need. More at oceanstatejoblot.com. That's oceanstatejoblot.com. And Delta Dental of Massachusetts. Good oral health is known to protect you from heart disease, depression, and more. You can discover the connection between oral and overall health at expressyourhealthma.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browning and Marge Regan are live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. A couple of weeks ago, TV guy Matt Gilbert from the Globe was with us. He told us about the question he's most often asked, obviously. What's your favorite TV show of all time? Well, now the Globe's running a bracket, sort of like a March Madness thing for TV shows of the last 50 years. You can vote on their website for the next 2 weeks. We're getting ahead of the results and ending the show this week, asking you to tell us what your top show is from the last several decades and why. It's 877-301-8970, both for texting and calling. I know you hate when I ask you first. What's your favorite couple of shows of all time?
Well,
Rodrigo?
you know, it's so boring to say this.
Say
but, yeah, I love The Sopranos. I love Seinfeld. I loved that little suburban, what was that suburban show that I loved for a long time? I'll think of it in a second. Veep
Obviously,
was a great,
loved it, yeah.
Veep was a great show. The Wonder Years.
Never saw it.
It was kind of sappy, but I really liked it. How about you?
I would have to say, I was trying to think if I had to pick three, I would pick two, not surprising. The Wire. I'm going to play a little sound from The Wire because the sound we have includes Omar, Michael K. Williams, who just died, one of the greatest characters maybe in the history of television. The Sopranos. And you know what usually doesn't make people's top lists, even though it made Rolling Stones? Fleabag is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, Fleabag was good.
In my whole life. The woman is brilliant. The cast, everything is brilliant. Here's some sound from the late, great Michael K. Williams as Omar, maybe the greatest character ever on TV in The Wire. In this scene, he's on the witness stand taking questions.
What exactly do you do for a living, Mr. Little?
I rip and run.
You...
I rob drug dealers.
And exactly how long has this been your occupation, Mr. Little?
Oh, I don't know exactly. I venture to say maybe about 8 or 9 years.
Mr. Little, how does a man rob drug dealers for 8 or 9 years and live to tell about it?
Day at a time, I suppose.
Day at a time, I suppose. 877-301-8970. It gives me chills. It is such a brilliant, brilliant show. What's your favorite and why? We're a little short on time, ran a little bit long. So give us a buzz or a text right now if you would. And let's go right to Kaylin in Denver. Hey, Kaylin.
Hey,
how are you?
Kaylin.
Kaylin used to be in the library with us. He's now in Denver. Hey, Kaylin, what's up?
Hi, both. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. I remember when you guys were talking about this a couple weeks ago, I want to say. I think it was the Rolling Stone magazine that did the initial report.
Yep.
And I was so surprised that The Office wasn't on there. The American version, I should say. I mean, I looked through it, and I don't think it was. It is by far my favorite show, and I would say there are many people, old, young, different demographics, socioeconomic statuses. Everybody watches that show as far as I know. And I was very surprised to see it not on there, so I'd be curious to know where it ranks on this upcoming poll.
Well, I'm sure it's on the list to vote on.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the top 50, though. Did you? I didn't see it. But
remember.
you know,
Kaylin,
Kaylin,
thanks
I'm
for
with
the
you.
call.
I watched that every Thursday night with my kids, and it was like a go-to. You had to watch it, and the reruns are constant on
I know,
television. You
huge.
can watch them all the time. But that was a really good one. I'm with you on that one.
Thank you, Kaylin. By the way, Beautiful Liar is the name of the Shakira Beyonce song that Kareem played on. That is just the video. I don't know.
Jim,
what to
control
say.
yourself.
No, it is really something. Melissa in Newbury, you're next on Boston Public Radio. Welcome.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks. As a long-time listener, first-time caller, you just actually talked to my mom this summer about sunbathing topless on Plum Island. But no, I just wanted to call and
Nantucket, but it's close enough. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to call and add some age diversity to your show because
Sure.
my favorite show is Gilmore Girls. I'm probably on my fourth.
Oh, we're losing you. What
but-
Melissa said, other than topless bathing, was Gilmore Girls. We have a bad connection, Melissa. I really feel bad since it's your first call. Keep talking. Maybe it's better.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. But no, just being 32 years old, it's pretty funny to watch this show again and realize I'm the same age as like Gilmore is in the show. And when it first came out, I was probably about 10. So funny how time goes by, and just wanted to share that with you all. Thank
Well, really
Melissa,
glad you
thank
made
you
your first
very
call.
much
Thank
for
you,
the call.
Melissa.
We
Did you
have
ever see the Gilmore Girls?
I think so, once.
Yeah.
I think my kids watched that one too. The Wire, of course, is getting a lot of play from
You ever
Texas.
seen The Wire?
Yes, I have.
Every season, for those who
it's very
haven't seen
good.
it.
It's not. It's a tough one to watch now,
Really,
though.
it's tough.
It's because it's gritty and it's tough, and it's about a lot of tough issues: drug addiction, cops, corruption, murders, gangs. I mean, it's not
Schools, labor,
Yeah.
the docks. I mean, it's brilliant.
It's not fun. Mark on YouTube says his best TV show is Weeds. Was that the one about?
Weeds was great with Mary Parker. What the hell is her name?
Yes, I think so. Mary Lou
Whatever-
Parker, something
whatever
like
her
that.
name
She
is.
was
Louise Parker. Thank you.
Yeah, she was a
Alan the
drug
Road.
dealer.
You're next on Boston Public Radio. What's your deal?
Hey guys, I gotta go with Cheers, Magnum PI, and Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Cheers is on the list. So is Breaking Bad. Where's Breaking Bad, Jim?
I think it's
Breaking
in the
Bad
top 5.
is number 3. Yeah, Breaking Bad is number 3, and The Wire was number 4. We mentioned The Wire before, and Cheers is on there somewhere.
We have sound from Breaking Bad while you're looking. Here's sound from the show in which the main character, obviously Walter White, is explaining to his wife why their family is not in danger.
Do you know what would happen if I suddenly decided to stop going into work? A business big enough that it could be listed on the NASDAQ goes belly up. Disappears. It ceases to exist without me. No, you clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
You know, one of my favorites, by the way, that obviously is Walter White's character.
Yeah.
But the most incredible story, do you remember this? I can't think of the actress who played Skylar, but by the end, she and Walter were so hateful. Do you remember she wrote an op-ed in the New York Times and saying people so identified in a hostile way to her character as Skylar that she walked down the street in New York City and she'd be treated like crap by virtually everybody encountered her. That's how real these incredible characters. And by the way, for those who didn't see it, Walter White was a high school teacher who became a manufacturer of meth, and that was the core of the show.
Cheers was number 8, by the way. You know, Shelley Long, Ted Danson,
was?
Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, Woody Harrelson. That was number 8 on this list. Let's go.
Anna Gunn is the name of the actress. Thank you, Aiden. She was brilliant in that show.
Let's go to Bob in Plymouth. What do you think, Bob?
Hey, Bob.
The legendary Jim Browdy and the always wonderful Marjorie.
Marjorie
Egan, that is correct.
Thank you for calling,
Hey,
Bob.
Bob, what's up?
Marjorie, you know, I got to say, I saw the picture on the Smug Mug.
Yeah.
And I got to say, oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby, yeah.
Thank you.
If you weren't listening earlier in the show, you wouldn't get that.
Yeah.
But
I
trust
had a
me,
lot
that
of
was pretty
makeup on. But what's your favorite? What's your favorite show, Bob?
You know, I've always, since I was a kid, I've watched Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek. That was one of the great ones. Is that on the list? I don't think so.
I don't know.
But that was a great show.
I mean, there's been so many, like, incarnations of it, too. Some of them weren't that good. Enterprise was horrible. But, I mean, the original Star Trek, I'll watch it anytime it's on.
Hey,
That's
Bob,
a good call,
thanks for the
Bob.
call.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind words about the Smug Mug. Lisa on YouTube
oh baby, yeah. Okay, this is a woman
gonna play
in a
that
haunted
endlessly.
house, and I was reading
Yeah.
what she said. The ghost
Yeah,
said to her. That's
you
not
did it,
me.
Jim. We're going to be playing
I was
that a lot.
voicing
Let me
the-
tell
the
you,
bit.
that's one of many times going to play
That was a big mistake.
that baby. as
Can I
it
tell
were.
you one thing? A person doesn't sign this.
Yeah.
One of the great shows ever that doesn't get as much play. I don't think you watch this. You ever watch The Americans?
Yeah. Oh, I
About
watched
the
a couple of them.
Russians?
Yeah, that was great.
Oh.
People were obsessed with that show. That was a good one.
Fabulous.
6 Feet Under's not on the list either.
That's a
Peter
good
from
one.
Mystic likes that one. Lisa on YouTube said "Touched by an Angel," The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and The Big Bang. Was it The Big Bang Theory? Just plain old Big Bang. I think it was Big Bang. Oh, best show last 50 years, The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I think we have some sound from The Mary
do?
Tyler Moore Show. Yeah, here's a little scene from the pilot episode. That was on the list, Jim. Find the list while I'm reading the sound. This is one in which Mary sits down for an interview with her soon-to-be boss, Lou Grant, played by the late Ed Asner, at the TV station WJM.
Has the job been filled?
Yeah,
Oh.
but there is another job.
Oh?
I figured I'd hire a man for it.
Oh.
We can talk about it.
Well, good.
Hey, you live in my favorite neighborhood.
Oh, really? I just moved in. Is it that nice?
Nice. Some of the best saloons in town are over there.
Mary
When
Tyler.
laugh tracks are really weird in 2022,
Yeah,
are
Mary
they not?
Tyler Moore Show, number 10. That was on from 1970 and 1977.
Kathy and Natick are next on Boston Public Radio. What's your choice?
MASH. I can't believe I haven't heard it on the radio yet,
that's a
but
great
that was
one.
a fantastic show. I'll never forget it.
MASH was a great show. I don't think that's on the list, but it was a
Oh,
great
it's
show.
got to be on the list. Can I tell you something? I am really in awe of people who we have as guests, even some big names. Remember when Alan Alda was with us a couple of months ago?
I do.
I mean, that was
That was
huge.
a thrill. That was a thrill.
How many people watched the finale of MASH? Was it over 100 million?
It was
I think.
huge.
Was it not
It was
in the
huge
United
all
States?
across the country.
Kathy, it's a great choice. Thanks so much for making
You know
the
what's on the
call.
list too that I forgot to mention was a great show, Mad Men.
Yeah.
That was on from 2007 to 2015.
And what does he do?
John
Make
Hamm.
Mercedes-Benz commercials?
No, he's in something new. He's in a new season of Fargo.
He is?
Yes, he is.
When's-
John Hamm.
When is Fargo?
I don't know,
it was
but
out.
he's in the new season. Ron from Seabrook, what do you think? What's your favorite show?
Hey, Ron.
Hi, my wife and I don't know if a British show qualifies, but my wife and I really gobbled up Doc Martin.
Never saw that.
What is it?
A doctor in Great Britain. I think we're supposed to believe he has Asperger's, but he's brilliant, but socially handicapped, and very interesting and very funny program.
Okay, we'll have to check that one out, Ron.
Doug
Thank
Martin.
you very
Thank you,
much for
Ron.
the call.
Appreciate
Ralph
it.
from New Hampshire says The West Wing, the perfect anti-Trump anecdote. Lots of people are voting for The West Wing here on the.
I have to say, Aaron Sorkin's writing really never did it for me. You know what's number 2 in the Rolling Stone list? And again, we're doing this because there's now a bracket thing in which you can vote as of today, I think, in the Boston Globe. Number 2 in the all-time list is The Simpsons.
I love The Simpsons.
Here's some sound from season 9, episode 3, in which new power plant employee Frank Grimes is driven insane by how well-liked Homer Simpson is.
Could you explain your model, young man?
What's to explain? He's an idiot.
Pipe down.
Well, basically, I just copied the plant we have now. Then I added some fins to lower wind resistance, and this racing stripe here I feel is pretty sharp.
Agreed. First prize.
What? Way to go, Homer.
You're number 1, Homer.
But this was a contest for children.
Yeah, and Homer beat their brains out.
Isn't it the longest running series in the history of television? I think it is.
I love The Simpsons. That was another great show. Lots of people are voting for Ted Lasso. That's still on now, right?
Mm-hmm, it is.
Smart, quirky, says Beth from Cambridge. Funny, deeply touching. Perfect show to start watching during the pandemic and keep watching through next year's third and final season.
Well, not just pandemic. A lot of people said it's really helpful getting through the time of Trump, too. So I guess it's a variation of the same thing.
Will and Grace, somebody else says. Frasier. Boy, we have a lot of variety here. Let's go to Jamie
By the way,
in
The
New
Simpsons,
Hampshire.
I got it wrong, is the longest running primetime scripted show in the United States. I'm sorry, take it away.
Jamie in New Hampshire, what do you think?
Hey, Jamie.
Hi. I live next to Hancock, New Hampshire, just by the way.
We love Hancock.
I wanted to say Grey's Anatomy.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
good
that's
one.
a good show. Is that a doctor show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I somehow missed that one.
And I watched 18 seasons, so I feel pretty confident that I
18?
could probably operate on somebody.
Is it really?
Did she
been
just say I'm pretty
18
confident I could
seasons?
operate on somebody? That's pretty good.
Wow. Thank you for that call,
Hey,
Jamie.
thanks, Jamie.
Here's a bunch more. Law and Order, SVU. Oh, my God. If anybody hasn't seen is it John Maloney that does the takeoff, does the funny bits about Law and Order, SVU, how people watch it for 8 hours at a time? John Mulaney, thank you. I was close. John Mulaney, thank you very much. It's a riot. He does a great thing about Ice-T. Other people talk about Ren and Stimpy, Fleabag, Schitt's Creek, Sex Education, and Better Call Saul. Jim, that was a
Better Call Saul is the prequel to Breaking Bad.
Yeah. SCIS. Game of Thrones. That's not on the list either.
My younger daughter I've never seen, I've told you this story before, when I turned on Game of Thrones in its early popularity, I happened to turn in, just coincidentally, to the Red Wedding, which is
Gruesome.
that the
Gruesome.
gruesome? Yeah, I didn't, but everybody else is into it, so what can I say?
Let's go to.
Did you ever get into Schitt's Creek? I know
watched it a
everybody
couple
loved
of
it.
times. No, I didn't get into it either. But
Nor did
it was one of our good actors, though, the guy that was in the
Yeah,
dog show.
Levy.
Yeah, Levy. I
The
forget
dog show.
The dog show, yeah.
It's not called The Dog Show. I'm not going to tell you what it is. What's the name of it?
I don't know. I've seen it about 5 times.
I can
can't
tell you.
remember the
It's
name.
Breaking Dog.
It's not Breaking Dog.
Let's go to Rama and Magnolia. You're next on Boston Public Radio. What's up?
Best in Show.
Best in
Hello.
Show. Hi.
Cheers.
Okay.
Oh, Cheers.
Yeah, Cheers is big.
Thursday nights back in the day, you had Cheers. You had L.A. Law. You had Hill Street Blues.
Oh, I loved
and
L.A.
Another
Law.
show I loved, was Mad About You.
Hey, you know what's amazing? Thanks for the call. You know what's amazing about Cheers?
What?
Do you ever drive by? Is it Hampshire House? Where's the Cheers
Yeah, Hampshire
bar?
House.
Do you know that? How many years Cheers been off the air? 20?
Yeah, people still go there.
No, they don't still go there. The lines are practically around the block for this thing. People, I assume, know if you're not in downtown Boston. It's a replica of the Cheers bar, right? You ever been in there?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, years ago.
Years
I was
ago for
in
me,
there.
too.
Has anybody mentioned Seinfeld? That's number 6.
I don't know if they have.
That's number 6. And the Larry Sanders Show.
That was pretty great,
That
too.
was a big one. That
Let's
was
play a little Seinfeld sound, can we, before we got
Absolutely.
to wrap this up. Here's some sound from Seinfeld where George looks to Timberland boots to help him with women.
Yeah, new Timberlands?
Yeah, and a whole new me. I'm up 2 inches on these babies.
Really?
5'8", 5'7".
Jerry.
Nina! It's been years.
Yeah.
George, this is Nina.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Wait a minute. Nina just saw me in my Timberlands. Now I have to wear them every time I see her.
Why?
In any other shoe, I lose 2 inches. I can't have a drop down. We were eye to eye. I can't go eye to chin.
So you're gonna wear them no matter what the situation?
In every situation, no matter how silly I look.
Pretty good. In any case.
You know what? That one holds up, too. A lot of them don't hold up, but that one holds up. Wouldn't you say?
I would say. I would
Okay.
say.
All right, we're done.
We're done.
Okay. You can keep up with us 24/7 by way of our podcast. On Monday, we're going to be joined by our medical ethicist, Art Kaplan. Kayak founder Paul English on his latest social app on restaurant reviews. This is a great idea.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it does. GBH reporter Liz Niesloss on the fight to protect the state's mobile home communities. The last of the Fabulous Priced Out series. The last of the Fabulous Priced Out series, I should say. Plus inaugural poet Richard Blanco and Harvard Dream researcher Deirdre Barrett.
Oh, great.
We want to thank our crew. Zoe Matthews, Aidan Conley, Mackenzie Farkas. Additional support was provided by Brendan Deedy, Fernando Cervantes, Gia Orsino. Our engineer is John the Claw Parker. Our executive producer is Jamie Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL team, Steve Baracci, Evelyn Brito, Sai Patel, Eddie Hickey, Glenn Heath, and Angelica Marrero. No TV for you tonight.
No, but can I say one thing? Somebody who is on TV, tonight is somebody we're going to be spending part of Sunday night with. Our colleague Callie Crossy, not here today, is winning one of the 4 Governor's Awards from Mass Humanities Sunday night. The governor will be there and others. We're emceeing the thing, and it couldn't go to a more deserving soul. So congratulations to Callie.
Absolutely.
We hope to do it to her face, but she wasn't here today. That's Sunday night.
Okay. Well, have a nice weekend, Jim.
Well, I'm going to see you Sunday night at the event.
Well, that's right. I'll go see you Sunday night at the event. That's a good point. We are moderating.
Didn't I just say that?
You did just say that.
We're not moderating. We're emceeing.
Whatever we're doing.
It's not
We're going to be
debate.
there at the Kennedy Library on Sunday night doing something. Having to do with
I'd be a little worried about this if I were you.
Crossley. I'm worried about everything.
Okay.
I'm Marjorie.
I'm Jim Browley.
Thank you for tuning in today. Hope you can tune in.
Oh, baby, oh. See you tomorrow. See you Monday.
Bye.